blow to Tehran. FSN's Mitch McCann sent this report.
There are many key unanswered questions that remain here. Among them, what is the future of Iran's nuclear program, something that Donald Trump has talked about since the start of this conflict. Iran has reportedly agreed not to have a nuclear weapon, but what about nuclear power, and how will the US trust the Iranians' word moving forward? What is going to happen in terms of Iran backing, or no longer backing, its regional proxies? And the big question as well is what happens to the Strait of Hormuz after 60 days?
Meanwhile, the first round of planned talks in Switzerland on Friday between the US and Iran was abruptly called off. It came after Israel carried out a wave of deadly strikes on Lebanon on Friday in response to a Hezbollah attack that killed 4 Israeli soldiers. Israel and Hezbollah then recommitted to a ceasefire, but US-Iran negotiations are still in limbo. FSN's Ross Cullen sent this report from Switzerland, where the talks were due to take place on Friday.
The 60-day timeline is open. That is probably the major setback, the fact that they have not been able to use the first 2 days of this 60-day period to be able to start negotiations. But the memorandum that was signed by President Pezeshkian and President Trump, that is still in effect. But there was hopes that there would be the first round of these talks heading towards a final nuclear deal here in Switzerland today, Friday, potentially this weekend. But now we have the statement from the US Vice President's office that right now he is not coming to Switzerland.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth this week announced a 6-month Pentagon review of American forces in Europe, while NATO's nuclear planning group issued its first statement in 19 years, both unveiled on Thursday at a defense ministers' meeting in Brussels. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky was also there. FSN's William Denslow was there in Brussels and sent this report.
He met last night with Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General. He had a meeting with NATO's defence ministers to discuss continued support. This comes as Mark Rutte estimates that Russia is losing upwards of 35,000 forces each and every month. He says that is signs that Ukraine is in a strong position on the battlefield, but says yet more support is needed.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. This week, US President Donald Trump's newly appointed chair of the US Federal Reserve chaired his first policy meeting. Under Kevin Walsh, the Fed decided to leave interest rates unchanged. FSN's Kate Fisher in Washington was watching Walsh's first press conference as Fed chair.
Under its new chair, the US Central Bank voted to keep interest rates steady for a 4th straight meeting as Americans struggle with an inflation surge that has pushed prices to their highest level in years. The first policy vote since June last year that did not feature some form of opposition. But the apparent unanimity among officials belies the challenging position that Mr. Walsh finds himself in, having been handpicked for the job by President Trump, who's waged a relentless pressure campaign on the US Central Bank to lower borrowing costs. Delivering that's become all but impossible because of the war with Iran and the inflation that it's unleashed.
British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer could be facing a leadership challenge. It comes after Andy Burnham won a by-election in Greater Manchester. It means he's now a Member of Parliament and can challenge the Prime Minister, as FSN's John Beaver explains.
Of course, those who are the political opponents of the Labour Party, they say, well, if you're going to have this change in Prime Minister, then really it should go back to the people, that you should have this general election. But that's not how the system works. Of course, remember, with the previous Conservative Party, we saw a huge number of changes of the top job from Boris Johnson onwards, and all of that happened without a general election.
Senior security officials from across the BRICS bloc are convening in Delhi this coming week for a high-stakes meeting that could shape the agenda for a leaders' summit in September. The grouping includes China, Russia and Iran. And that's the Week in Review. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
We turn to Washington, D.C., where America's roommates are holding a rally as part of their new One Vote Doesn't Matter political action campaign. The rally, which drew thousands of roommates, ranging from the guy who keeps all of his groceries in his room to the guy whose name the lease is under, is just a part of a surging grassroots movement to spread the message that one person's vote can't make a difference if you really, really think about it.
This is like the most important election of our lifetime. We just want to get the word out that it's already been decided in some smoke-filled boardroom. I pretty much minored in poli-sci, so I think I get this stuff.
Joining us now is Jason Copeland at a rally in the nation's capital. Jason, how would you describe the energy there?
Yeah, hi, Andrea. I'd say it's a definite chill vibe. I just saw the roommate whose only friend seems to be his younger brother and the guy who just has an air mattress in his room passing out flyers together. Now, the roommates do make some interesting points. The Electoral College it is weird.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. Give us a call. Let us know what you're thinking about this evening. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, you got Stu.
Kahuna.
And Richie Rich.
And, since it's a call-in show, and we already have a caller.
People are waiting to get on.
Shall we just go to the phones? It's Sarah in New Mexico.
Voices must be heard.
Sarah, what's on your mind tonight?
Oh, yeah. I can't believe it. You took me on at 5 o'clock? This is unbelievable.
Yes, 5 o'clock. 7 Eastern, yes.
Yes, 5 o'clock in New Mexico.
Eastern, because it's 5 o'clock here in New Mexico time. But
you called at 5 o'clock, so we took you on at 5 o'clock.
That's right. I remember listening to Free Talk Live from 5 to 8.
Yeah.
It was... Yeah.
I'm just saying, unless there's other callers on the line, we usually take calls when they call in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, the only reason Sarah waits is because she's usually not the first caller.
Yeah.
But if someone's on the line, we answer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if somebody calls, we answer.
Well, that's really impressive. So I just want to explain that remember my network company? So we have this nonprofit. If they apply, they qualify for 5% products. So it's kind of like encourages, like, if I get put under this church, whatever I buy, 5% would go to 5% product. And I have talked to maybe 10 churches about this program. And they all look at me like I'm just nonsense. Or they think I'm scam, or they don't understand what I'm talking about, or they're...
Sarah, yeah, so I was a little confused. By 5% product, do you mean multi-level marketing?
Yes. This is the thing she's been in for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a network marketing. I don't call it the MLM because we don't have distribution. We don't buy and resell. That's an MLM. Like Amway is an MLM, Mary Kay is an MLM because you have to buy first.
But it's a pyramid scheme in that you sign people up under your name, right?
If you're good.
Well, under my group, below me.
Yes, there you go. So pyramid scheme,
Ponzi scheme.
It's neither of those, and even like I will defend the MLM and the network marketing.
Hey, a pyramid scheme is not necessarily a bad thing if you get in there. If you're smart enough to see where you are in the thing, and you get in somewhere in the top third, you can make some money.
Yeah, but like even a corporate structure appears like a pyramid, right? And it's not a scheme; it's above board.
It's a pyramid. Even churches are pyramid. You got the people at the top, you got people, the executive, people administrate, and you got people underneath.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like all a pyramid.
So it's a pyramid setup, maybe or maybe not a scam.
Right.
Yeah.
But everything hierarchical ends up like a pyramid. There's one guy up top, and then delegation starts from there.
Does kind of seem that way, huh?
So let me try to explain. Nobody understands what I'm talking about. Let me try to explain. So I'm signed up as a monthly customer, okay? So I have talked to 10 different churches that I've been going to, and then the pastors are like dodging me, and then with this church they have another pastor, so I can't talk to the regular pastor. Like there's this new pastor.
She's got a gatekeeper.
Why are they dodging you?
Probably because she shows up once every 10th week.
Well, it seems like this church, the Anchor Church that I went to, they have a regular pastor, and he's not there today. Some other pastors, like, they're trying to avoid me because they don't want to hear what I trying to explain to them how this nonprofit works. They don't even want to hear it, my explanation. So, I'm trying to explain this to you guys.
Maybe a big contribution to the church will clear their ears out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I even then I have made big contributions, $500 contributions, and they don't want to hear nothing either.
Okay.
They're like, we don't want to be a part of it. They don't even want me to explain what's going on.
Well, they're probably leery of it because they probably think it's a scheme.
Because God's the top of their pyramid.
Yeah, they got their own hustle going.
It's competition.
They don't want to split their attention. They want to focus on the one hustle they already have.
They can maintain the monopoly.
Well, but the whole thing of the business setup behind this nonprofit is, how there's fundraisers, restaurants, all kinds of. If you buy this cosmetic, 2% will help with the human trafficking. I bought a lipstick like that, so it's kind of like the same concept.
You bought a lipstick that helps with human trafficking?
Well, I bought this like a lipstick from like Sprouts, and it says that 2% of it will help, programs that help rescue human trafficking victims. And I'm like, oh wow!
Do you believe that do you believe that it really helps?
Well,
it's an honest question.
I really do.
I would be suspicious that it
Really?
actually just goes to the people that are actually doing the bad stuff anyways.
But so this is the same concept. You have to be a real nonprofit, 501c3. So they need that form, and you have to fill out this form. And once you're set up, all the customers that get put under the church, whatever they order, gets 5% to that church for free products. But nobody understands. It gives me any time to understand it. But the whole business, the company's doing this. So all the church members, they're very dedicated to their church. I mean, they really are.
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question based on your approach, Sarah, and I'll try to tie this in with what I do professionally at my real job. So I got people on the phones whose job it is to set appointments, and when I interview new people, I tell them the job is threefold, right? You have to number one, you have to identify a need. And if there's a need, then you qualify it to make sure the job is big enough for our undertaking. And then if that's the case, then you go ahead and close it, right? So as you're approaching these churches and you're trying to pitch this 5%, have you even identified a need that those churches need the product you're trying to get them a discount on?
Yeah, I guess they have to, like you say, they have to have a need. Oh, the 5%.
The 5% doesn't matter if there's no need, right? So if you're going to all these churches and they don't need whatever you're selling, right? Maybe move away from the church model and find an organization that has a need, right? If you're moving,
that's a good point. If this company you were working for sold Bibles, I bet this church would be a lot more interested.
Right, but if they sell home cosmetics like soap and shampoos. And that maybe a homeless shelter that's a nonprofit, right? Could use soap and toothpaste
or an elderly care home or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's a really good point, because I think there is the nonprofit. It's a nonprofit that helps human trafficking victims. I think it's called the Dream Center. You're right, and they are always needing soap, shampoo, toiletries. Yeah, all those body care deodorants products. You are right. And then they definitely have a 501c3. And if they qualify, but you are right. I mean, the only thing I get convinced
I get that a lot as well.
Yeah, so what do you you set up an appointment for? What do you do? For what? Is it
my main job is home beautification and exterior remodels. So we do roofing, siding, windows, and doors.
Oh my God. Oh my God! And then people think that you're a scam too, right?
Yeah, all the time. But if someone needs roofing, siding, windows, and doors, and we go, hey, that's what we do, and we'll give you a quote for free. We'll come to your house and give you a free quote, right? People take the appointment because there's no risk until our sales guy shows up and pitches the product. And even then, there's no risk because we're still competing with all the other local contractors that can likely undercut us.
But who pays you? It's the company that gets the job. They pay your company for
no. This is an internal marketing operation. I work for the company. My operators work for the company. The sales guys work for the company. The installers work for the company. But we buy product from vendors.
Yeah.
So when someone says like, I need a roof, and they sign on the dotted line to have us install the roof, then we go get the roof materials from a vendor, and then we go out there and install the roof.
So it sounds like Richie has sent you in the right direction to get more people signed up.
Identify the need.
That's right. Thanks for the call tonight,
Part 1,
Sarah.
do they need what you're offering? If they don't, you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah.
You don't have to manufacture demand. You just have to find the people demanding it.
It'll be interesting next time she calls to find out whether she was able to apply the knowledge that you've imparted to her.
It's still a skill, man. It's going to take some practice, regardless of my advice.
So, Big Kahuna, you were riding a motorcycle around with some other people that ride motorcycles around?
Yeah.
Leather-clad, hairy gentlemen all gathered in one place.
Yeah, Laconia Bike Week, one of the major bike rallies in this country, and
is it like a week-long biker festival?
Yep, it started. Laconia, New Hampshire, near Lake Winnipesaukee.
Okay,
you said one of the major ones. It's literally the only one I've ever heard of.
So there's Sturgis.
Sturgis.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right.
You got Sturgis, and you got Daytona.
I've never heard of Daytona.
Daytona
being from out west, I had never heard of Laconia until I came out here.
Right.
But Sturgis was a famous thing everybody had heard about.
Yeah, okay. So I think it ran from Saturday the 13th till today is actually the last day, but I was out there a week ago for 3 days, and it was great. I mean, here's the thing: when we were talking about this before, if you listen to the one news outlet here in New Hampshire, right? The
one TV station,
according to them,
one radio station.
And I watched the clip because I had heard this. They said, it's potentially the attendance was down this year 20 to 25%. They claim because of gas prices, right? That was the main reason.
You put that in air quotes, you don't think gas prices are a problem for people?
I'm not saying that they're not higher, but I talked to some people about that, and motorcycles get great gas mileage.
Okay.
And yes, I would think it's on the list of reasons why you may or may not go, but I don't think it's high on the list. In other words.
How big are those tanks on a motorcycle? Like 2.5 gallons?
I mean, I've got a Harley, one of the bigger ones. It's about 6 gallons, I think.
What's the range on that?
Close to 300 miles, believe it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I mean,
that's what I was expect.
It's decent.
So I don't think fuel prices are.
That's what I was thinking.
Unless it's just that fuel prices because for their daily driving, and that's got them.
Well, when you're used to filling up your Harley for $30, and now it's $60.
Well, yeah,
right.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's not a factor. I don't think it's I don't think that's going to drive attendance that much. But I can tell you this: being there, it was packed. If you didn't get down to, if anybody has been there, Weirs Beach is the main drag there, where all the bikers kind of congregate and pack, and they've got bars down there, and you could, if you weren't down there early, you couldn't find a place to park.
Is it your first time?
That was my first time, during Bike Week. I had been there before, off season. The interesting thing is there were tons of cops around. I mean, you think about bikers and kind of wild and burnouts, and anybody doing a burnout, there were cops there on the spot writing tickets. They even have there's painted lines, and if you're a few inches over the painted line, they come out and write you a ticket. I mean, it was crazy.
So what happens when a biker gets pulled over? The rest of the bikers just pretend they don't see it?
Oh, no. I mean, there's dudes around there videoing it, and people stand around and watch,
Were the bikers anti-cop or pro-cop in that situation?
I I don't know. I mean, probably anti-cop, but I mean, it's not like they're doing anything about it either.
Okay.
You know, and just talking to some of the old timers are like, yeah, it's not the way it used to be. And, you know, we used to get away with a lot more stuff. And it's just, it wasn't the type of environment necessarily that I envisioned.
It used to be an underground thing, and now it's commercialized.
Yeah.
Over sawbucks.
Yeah. And then when you're down at Weirs Beach, all it is like T-shirt vendors and, you know, fried chicken and stuff like that, you know, like a carnival.
Okay. So, I like fresh squeezed lemonade, man.
Yeah.
Fried chicken, fresh squeezed lemonade.
You know, a beautiful country. I mean, and, you know, if you ride motorcycles, I mean, if you haven't attended, I mean, despite what I just said, I mean, it's just gorgeous there. And I went on a couple long rides, and it's just awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I inadvertently ended up at one motorcycle rally ever. It was in Austin, Texas.
By mistake or just?
Well, I just had a thing that was going on
like Pee Wee Herman shows up on his bicycle?
No, there was a BMX charity event that I was filming for there.
Okay.
And it wasn't too out of hand. They did the breeze ride. Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
And where they ride their motorcycles naked. And they had like motorized bar stools and lots of day drinking. And I didn't see any like, crazy peel outs or, like people roasting their tires.
Yep.
I didn't see a whole lot of shenanigans or.
I mean, they still have the stuff like that you would think would be at a biker rally, like the wet T-shirt contest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were plenty of opportunities for that at the High Octane Saloon, which is one of the big biker bars there.
Yeah.
Did you enter?
I skipped it this time. Maybe if I practice, maybe next year. But there was stuff like that.
I suspect what happens to these biker festivals is that they get started by these diehard biker people that are quite rowdy and like to have a real good time, and then slowly over time, businessmen infiltrate them.
Yeah,
and they come out and they're doing their weekend warrior biker thing, and
down with capitalism.
They get full acceptance and everything, and they're but you can tell the difference.
It's interesting because I've been up there a few times. I'd say over the last 10 years. And there's a lot of new construction, like right around that area.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's a website. I'm not probably not name it now, but like literally brand new condos right on the little hill where you roll down into Weirs Beach that have a nice overlook right into Lake Winnipesaukee. And I looked; it said only 5 units remaining, right? So I looked it up, and the prices start at $750,000, right?
Wow. Okay.
And this is on property. I'm like, oh, that wasn't there the last time I came here. So it's like everywhere else, just tons of new construction, big money. And I suspect that people paying those prices because they want to be there and around the lake and stuff, they may not be as accepting of these types of events. So, they kind of use their influence to, hey, we need a lot. We need a big police presence there this week.
Make it a bit more.
I don't want these troublemakers.
Yeah, bring some order.
Town.
I'm not a big fan of the cops.
Order and regulation. To
well,
the
neither
biker
am
rally.
I.
But groups of bikers on the road is like my second least favorite groups of people on the road behind bicyclists.
Okay.
I just don't like.
They annoy
I don't
the
like
heck out of me,
motorcycle
too.
groups on the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
they're rather discourteous, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I've experienced this too. We have
That's a polite way of putting it.
We have a caller on the line. Not that people in cars and trucks aren't discourteous too, but
sure. But like the bikes act as a group,
yeah,
right? And they they block lanes and they they impede traffic.
We have a caller on the line. We're gonna go to the phones. Wireless caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey guys, my name's Owen. Am I on the line?
Yes,
Owen.
You're on the air.
Hi, Owen.
I've never even I don't know. I was just on X and I saw I don't know, you popped up and
I've been sort of
dealing with it.
Welcome.
All right, so I've been sort of dealing with like a bit of an ethical dilemma lately.
Tell us about it.
I'm
Richie's
going through
good
it
at these.
and I just
Richie's good at these. Let's hear it.
All right, so
Dumper.
I moved up to Minnesota to my dad's cabin in February from Florida, and just had a rough go of it the past 4 or 5 years. Made and lost about $1.2 million. And
I'm already jealous.
How'd that happen, by the way? That's a lot of money to lose.
Did you check the couch?
Yeah, that's funny. So it started with
subreddit Wall Street Bets.
It started with the coronavirus, dude. So I had a blind company that I was doing pretty well. I made $230,000 in 2019, just me, and a couple of helpers, and then the coronavirus shut me down, and then I had a couple of people relying on me to live, like this one guy had 2 kids, and all right, I'm already justifying it, but basically I knew a guy whose dad owned this abandoned Hershey's chocolate factory in Canada that he turned into like a weed thing. And I got desperate and I got in trouble, but I got off, whatever. Basically I got in trouble and then I was living in my boat down by the river.
Got in trouble for ganja smuggling?
Yeah, 187 pounds of pot. And then
well, thank you for your service.
Then,
I'm sorry you got in trouble.
Then my family cut me off.
I'm used to hearing
my
drugs
cousin,
in kilos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then my cousin was becoming a DEA agent, and so my whole family had to cut me off, and my cousin got my girlfriend at the time pregnant. So I got completely exiled, dude. And then I was just it turned into this thing. It's like a snowball effect. Like everything's going wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there, man.
So the investigator he was very kind to me. He just sort of understood where I was going. And he was like, listen, this is your fucking chance. This is your shot.
Sorry about that. We had to drop
He said it
you.
again. He said it twice. I don't know if you got...
The dump hadn't rebuilt.
Okay, all right.
I don't know if... Yeah, it shouldn't be there.
All right.
Okay, anyways.
Our apologies.
Sorry about that
it
one.
is.
We have FCC regulations. You can call back another night. But we have a one call per night policy.
Especially if you drop the F-bomb twice.
Although, he was getting into it, so you can kind of understand why that happened.
It was interesting. I was intrigued by the call.
Yeah, I was having a little trouble following it because there's so many things, but yeah.
Yeah, but this isn't the After Hours podcast. You got
correct.
Follow the rules.
Indeed. All right.
I do want to find out the rest of that story, though.
We'll put you in contact with Owen during the break.
Yeah.
It turned out like the cops were chasing him, and as he got into his car, they started pulling on his leg and pulling on his leg and pulling his leg, just like I'm pulling yours.
Definitely. So, sounds like Bike Week was fun, but not as much fun as you were hoping for.
Yeah, that's about right. And but I mean, I would go again, but not as psyched about it as I was before last week.
Yeah. Well, rumor has it there are some roving e-bike gangs in California now. So, on that topic, maybe we'll get into that.
Hex Angels.
Unless callers want to talk about something else, they can call in at 603-283-6160 and let us know what they're thinking about. This is Free Talk Live.
Nobody loves their cable company except for internet access. I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. To find what you want to watch, rather than the several hundred channels your cable or satellite menu force feeds you, explore cordcuttersnews.com. It's a buyer's guide for spending less or spending nothing on television. Founder Luke Bouma told me that for the vast majority of Americans, everything they want to watch is available streaming. The only reason many still subscribe to cable or satellite is live sports, and many team channels now offer streaming. Some cord cutters do end up paying cable-size money, but what they end up with is 100% their menu. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, the US and Iran signed a memorandum of understanding, bringing an end to their conflict. The 14-point memo sets out terms for ending the war and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The deal gives both sides 60 days to resolve the future of Iran's nuclear program. But some Republican lawmakers have already attacked the agreement over the billions of dollars that could now flow to Tehran. FSN's Mitch McCann sent this report.
There are many key unanswered questions that remain here. Among them, what is the future of Iran's nuclear program? Something that Donald Trump has talked about since the start of this conflict. Iran has reportedly agreed not to have a nuclear weapon, but what about nuclear power, and how will the US trust the Iranians' word moving forward? What is going to happen in terms of Iran backing or no longer backing its regional proxies? And the big question as well is what happens to the Strait of Hormuz after 60 days?
Meanwhile, the first round of planned talks in Switzerland on Friday between the US and Iran was abruptly called off. It came after Israel carried out a wave of deadly strikes on Lebanon on Friday in response to a Hezbollah attack that killed 4 Israeli soldiers. Israel and Hezbollah then recommitted to a ceasefire, but US-Iran negotiations are still in limbo. FSN's Ross Cullen sent this report from Switzerland, where the talks were due to take place on Friday.
The 60-day timeline is open. That is probably the major setback, the fact that they have not been able to use the first 2 days of this 60-day period to be able to start negotiations. But the memorandum that was signed by President Pezeshkian and President Trump, that is still in effect. But there was hopes that there would be the first round of these talks heading towards a final nuclear deal here in Switzerland today, Friday, potentially this weekend. But now we have the statement from the US Vice President's office that right now he is not coming to Switzerland.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth this week announced a 6-month Pentagon review of American forces in Europe, while NATO's nuclear planning group issued its first statement in 19 years, both unveiled on Thursday at a defense ministers' meeting in Brussels. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky was also there. FSN's William Denslow was there in Brussels and sent this report.
He met last night with Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General. He had a meeting with NATO's defence ministers to discuss continued support. This comes as Mark Rutte estimates that Russia is losing upwards of 35,000 forces each and every month. He says that is signs that Ukraine is in a strong position on the battlefield, but says yet more support is needed.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio you control. You can call in and let us know what you're thinking about. Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
Kahuna.
And Richie Rich.
Let's see. Last segment, we talked to Sarah. We talked to somebody who had to get dumped. We
Owen.
talked about bike.
Owen.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
We didn't even get to the dilemma.
Stupid FCC.
Yeah, we get to the
I was
punchline,
okay with
man.
the words, but, rules.
Oh, yeah. I'm fine with the words, just not in this environment.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's unfortunately the way it is for now.
Yep. Unfortunate. We were going to talk about a new form of bike gangs.
Sure. So I call them the Hex Angels. This is from MSN.com, I believe. California's new Hells Angels. Teens on e-bikes cut a path of danger.
I'm scared already.
I feel like this is just an extension of the dirt bikes, like people who ride the dirt bikes to the streets and they ride their four-wheelers to the streets or whatever.
Yep.
And similar to the motorcycles, right? They're, as Stoop said, just discourteous.
They certainly are.
And usually when they're being discourteous, I'm like, I don't care if they die. Like, hit them. Just plow right through them. Lessons need to be taught. But if you just want to ride right, and not be discourteous, like, cool, just yield. Signs of the exploding popularity of e-bikes are everywhere. Riders are showing up in massive groups at the beach. Kids are popping wheelies on quiet residential roads. And
popping wheelies? Oh, no.
Right, which is cool, right? Like,
popping a wheelie is so cool.
Do your wheelie, but if you do your wheelie in front of me and slow down because you can't control it, right? Like, now you're being discourteous. Go away.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's my general opinion. Like, if you could do it safely and maintain the speed and not slow down traffic,
you gotta
I tip my hat to you, sir.
competently.
Yes. Display your skills, not this nonsense. Popping wheelies on quiet residential roads, and scores of others are showing up in emergency rooms with cuts, broken bones, or worse. Yes, like life lessons. This is one of those things, like, we don't need the cops to teach the lessons, right? Writing tickets for being an inch over the line.
Exactly.
Right? Like, you fall and you damage things, and you're broken, yourself is broken, you damage property, you have life over that. Like, those are the life lessons. An 81-year-old was allegedly killed in Lake Forest after 14-year-old crashed into him after he was spotted doing wheelies. In Yorba Linda, a 12-year-old was critically injured while riding a modified e-motorcycle. In Oceanside, a rider fled from police in a chase that reached speeds of up to 50 miles an hour. And in Huntington Beach, a man was attacked after riding his scooter through a crowd of more than 100 young e-bike riders. Now, with graduations underway and summer around the corner, police across the state are looking for ways to pump the brakes on dangerous e-bike riding. If these bikes are not treated with respect and care, it could be just as dangerous as handing over firearms, said Officer Brandon Pawn, a collision investigator with the Los Angeles Police Department. I'm going to interject here because, like, for a long time, I mean, I don't know when the culture started, but street racing has always been a culture, right? People, back in the 80s, people really upset with skateboarders, being on the sidewalk and rail grinding the bus stop benches.
Yep.
Right. And like the cities or the state, the community, whatever, started developing places for these people to like ply their trade safely.
Like skate parks.
Yep. Places built racetracks.
Yep.
Right. It's like, don't race on the street. Just go down the track. And it's, you get the same thrill.
Yep.
Right. But you're just off, if you don't give them a place to do it, they end up doing it on the street.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that public money should be spent, right? But like some entrepreneur, like with an eye for profitability, might be able to build something on some land somewhere that'll give these, kids the thrill they're looking for. And, it'll still be dangerous, right? If you pop a wheelie, you still could screw it up, fall and crash and end up in the hospital. But at least you're not going to put...
the 81-year-olds will know not hang out there.
Right. That's not where you can find 81-year-olds. So, like, that 81-year-old will be safer, otherwise, and you'll have a place for the motorcycles to ride, right? Or, or a dirt bike track, right? When that, for that was the thing.
Back to that sentence, by the way, just the way it sounded when you read it. It said he, a teenager ran into and killed an 81-year-old man after being spotted popping wheelies earlier, almost like he was mad that he couldn't do his wheelies, and so he ran into that guy on purpose.
But, well, it also said allegedly, so like they don't know if the 81-year-old was killed, or is he not dead? Is he in critical condition?
Or do they not know if he hit him? Or
right?
I'm like, did the guy might have just fallen over and died because he was really old, anyways? Nobody really knows.
If this was 6 years ago, it would have been a COVID death.
Definitely.
81-year-old hit by wheeling motorcycle dies of COVID. If these bikes are not treated with respect and care, it could be just as dangerous as handing over a firearm, the investigator said. It's not just risky riding that raises concerns. Online videos show riders how to easily modify bikes to increase speeds. Some say bikes that are marketed for kids are more akin to motorcycles, reaching speeds of up to 50 miles. Why are they stuck on 50 miles per hour on an e-bike? Some parents are unaware of the difference between e-bikes and e-motorcycles, police said, while others are knowingly handing over the fast, dangerous bikes to young and inexperienced riders. The fast bikes some of them illegal to use if rider is not licensed, are easy to find. And in April, California Attorney General Rob Bonta warned sellers, manufacturers, and consumers that modified e-bikes and those that exceed state regulations may be illegal for unlicensed riders.
What? They have state regulations on e-bikes?
I guess so.
Jeez.
Like, again, how do you differentiate, right? Like, I know we talked about this a little bit during the break. Like, I have a moped, and when I got my moped, the license that I had to get says motorcycle/bicycle, permanent, right? And then at some point, right before I moved, because screw it, I don't follow the laws anyway. But right before I moved, Hawaii moved to like more of a motorcycle license for mopeds. So you got the full, mini license
like a plate
that had to go on it, and they moved the regulation of it from just like, it's just like a bicycle, into this other category of thing. I'm like, well, I'm not doing it, and I'm moving. So I'm gonna keep my permanent plate just in case something happens here. I'm like, it says permanent. We were talking again also during the break. You're getting the Montana plates, right? Yep. Permanent registration.
Yep.
I don't have to do anything else. Like, this is it. I'm not from around here. So yeah, I wanted to keep my permanent plate and not go through that having to re-register it every year nonsense. So in California, it is what it is. They've got it regulated some other way, that state regulation. These bikes are only allowed to go up to like 50 miles an hour. So if you exceed that, you're in a whole new category of thing. Weeks later, Amazon delisted several electric motorcycles from purchase in California, and law enforcement officials are looking for other ways to cut down on illegal riding before summer.
Well, they just take a trip over to the next state and get one.
Right, exactly.
Generally, you would be correct. However, what ends up happening a lot, because California is such a big state, manufacturers manufacture towards the California standard, and therefore it doesn't matter if you can go into the next state, because everything's going to be homogenous, because they just, California sets the tone. California emissions.
But then it'll just make a market for the aftermarket modifications, and you'll have to do it at home.
Yeah, just like anything else, But then, if your tint's too dark or your exhaust is too loud because you got the aftermarket stuff on there, the cops will still pull you over. So, I mean, you do what you want. You can, even with the guns, right, you can go over the border and get like a bigger magazine. But if you're back in California with that larger magazine and they catch you, you're busted in California. So most people won't do that generally, but that's
plenty will though.
Plenty will, yeah. But car manufacturers usually market or manufacture to the California standard, the same way like school textbooks, elementary school textbooks, dumbed down to like the Texas standard, because Texas is like the biggest buyer of their textbooks. So rather than print multiple ones for different state regulations, they just dumb it down for Texas, and that's what people in Wisconsin get, right? So it is what it is. If parents refuse to hold their children accountable, in Orange County, District Attorney Todd Spitzer has created a specialized unit to go after dangerous riders, including minors, and begun charging parents too. If parents refuse to hold their children accountable, then I am going to hold the parents accountable when they knowingly break the law, Spitzer said in a statement. There's absolutely no reason a child should be handed the keys to a motorcycle and be sent on their way without training, without a license, and without the maturity to handle that kind of responsibility. So I'll go back to the moped thing real quick, because like I got my moped as an adult, not a big deal there. But I also remember when we were kids, like teenagers, like pre the age of driving, I don't know what the law was, but I do know that our neighbor had like a busted moped, right? And he's like, you kids can have it. And my stepbrother and my friend, they knew more about mechanics than I did. So they worked on it and got it running. And like, that was just a toy that we had at that point to like ride around, the yard in and whatever. So the neighbor just handed us a keys to this dangerous machinery, once we got it up and running, and like, who cares, right? They wrote it more often than I did. I wasn't around that often for that, but still. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
none of this article is really getting a lot of sympathy out of me, except for the part about, parents ought to teach their kids not to do things they ought not do.
Well, be more specific, because
I mean, a parent, I guess you should.
As a parent, just teach your kids to follow the law.
If you give your kid a bike that can go 50 miles an hour, you should probably have seen them at least ride a bike.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll go that far.
All right. In San Diego, the risk and dangers have grown to a point where on May 28th, the county's health department issued a notice warning doctors about the increasing number of e-bike related injuries. So I think that satisfies it, right? If you give it to them and they crash, right? That's the life lesson.
Right.
Yeah. There's a natural consequence to being bad at what you're doing.
Yeah. The old joke is, a guy goes to the doctor and says, "Doc, hurts when I do this." And the doctor says, "Don't do that anymore."
Don't do that. Yeah.
So yeah.
This hurts when I lift my arm. Well, don't lift your arm.
Give your kids a helmet. A broken bone's not the end of the world, like an arm or a leg, but protect your noggin.
Head injury, yeah. And also coming from the state that doesn't have a helmet law, right? Like one of the few, we live in New Hampshire. You were just at Bike Week, right? Like how many helmets did you actually see? And was it more prominent than it used to be?
It runs the gamut. I mean,
you think it's like 30%?
It's hard to tell. I mean, I admit, 95% of the time when and Florida's the same, there's no helmet law. I'll still wear a helmet. And the reason is not because, obviously I don't have to. It's just because if you go down on a bike and it doesn't take that much and you go down the pavement, man, at least you got a fighting chance.
Yeah, you want to protect your noggin.
Right.
Plus it seems like keeping the wind out of your face and all of that while you're riding would be kind of nice.
Yeah, it's even, and I'm not as good about the gear, like I'll wear a leather jacket when it's colder out, but I won't wear one when it's warm out.
Mm-hmm.
And they even make like jeans that are specifically, they're like Kevlar lined and stuff.
As long as you're not in flip flops.
Yeah, but if you go down, man, and if you don't have the right gear on, again, that's your risk, right? That's your decision. You're like, I don't want to do that. Like it's not as comfortable. That's fine. And that should be your right.
Yeah.
Just realize that. The risk reward kind of thing. And if you go down, man, you're probably going to have a real bad day.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't wear a helmet.
Make that choice though.
Oh, definitely. No,
I would gear up. If I were to ride a motorcycle on the street, I would gear up. And I would hope nobody would ever tell me I have to.
Right. But as we know, if you go west out of here to Vermont or you go south to Massachusetts, they don't give you that choice. And you can still ride without it. Just realize that if a statey or a local cop sees you, they're probably going to pull you over.
Yeah.
So that's the price you pay.
I rode my moped in Hawaii for a long time until like my mom bought me a helmet.
Yeah.
Like I worked like 3.5 miles from home.
Yep.
So it's not like I was riding all over the place, and at that time it wasn't souped up, so it didn't go that fast to begin with.
Yep.
So I had goggles and like my hat on backwards, and that was it. Like I got to work, popped that off, got home.
But I don't live life consistently because I used to ski a lot back in the day. Pretty good skier, and so back when I learned as a kid, like helmets were just not a thing. Like I don't even remember seeing people with helmets. But now, if you go like downhill skiing, there are kids like from 3 feet tall are taught, oh no, you wear a helmet, right? And it's kind of rare to see people not wear them. I never wore a helmet skiing because I was a good skier. I was just like, nope, too uncomfortable. Don't want to do it.
Yep. Didn't have a helmet for the bicycle. Didn't have a helmet for the rollerblades.
Yep.
I wasn't much of a skateboarder, so that wasn't a problem.
But if I get on the motorcycle, like I said, probably 95% of the time I'll wear one.
Okay.
Yep.
The County of San Diego Health and Human Services agencies recommended physicians to encourage helmet use and counseled parents about the differences between e-bikes, the risk of riding in tandem, and local and state laws. But with few regulations on the books and companies designing some to look like motorcycles, interest in e-bikes has surged. At first, they were spotted in more affluent communities, with the cost of e-bikes ranging between $1,000 and $6,000 for stock models. But soon they started to be spotted everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And the casualties connected to e-bikes are mounting. In Orange County, an 81-year-old Vietnam veteran died in a collision with a 14-year-old on an e-bike. I wonder if that's the same one as the top one, because down here, they confirmed it. Last month, a 12-year-old riding an e-bike was seriously injured after colliding with the Tesla in San Diego. Wonder how much of that was the Tesla's fault.
Right, yeah. Was somebody actually driving the Tesla?
In Sacramento County, a 60-year-old nurse died in a collision with a teen on a biking path. And we make a joke about the Tesla, but that's another thing. Like on a moped, on a motorcycle, cars don't see you as well as they see. Like no matter what, they just don't see you. So it's kind of on you to be more safe around cars.
I heard a saying, the way somebody describes if you're learning to ride a motorcycle, right? They're like, drive your motorcycle like you're assuming everybody's trying to kill you.
Yes.
I mean, it's a little extreme, I think, but it is kind of that mentality. Like, I don't say ride scared. Like, I think riding scared is bad too.
No, you need to ride confident, but you got to have an out at all times.
Correct.
Like, hyper aware.
Like you have to be.
If anything goes wrong, I go that way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
And people who have never ridden a motorcycle or just don't know what they're all about, like they don't understand that,
Mm-hmm. And there's no metal cage around you, and you would get messed up bad.
After my moped accident, I bought like another moped, and I almost wrecked that one exiting a parking lot because I was behind the van who was also exiting the parking lot, and this a-hole just decided to like throw it in reverse and start backing up back into the parking lot. Like there's no reverse on a moped, man. So I had to like yank that thing off to the side, and I punched his window so hard. I tried to break it. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
We're going to go to the phones right now. We got Dave Ridley. Dave, what's on your mind? Dave, are you there? Dave Ridley?
Hola.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can now.
Okay, good. So I've been calling in, I think, for the last year or two to try and raise the profile of individuals in America who are working to prevent the Terminator scenario.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So this call will be a little unusual in that I think this is the first time I've ever called in twice about the same person. And that person is Joshua Bengio. Have you ever heard the name?
Only the last time you brought it up.
Yeah, and that was only about 3 weeks ago, I think. So he is a proponent of the idea he calls Scientist AI. He runs an organization called lawzero.org, or at least he's high profile there. And his desire is to create an AI that is focused on honesty. And he says once you've done that, it makes it much more difficult for negative to get a negative outcome. And so I have some updates on his situation.
Okay.
So he's at lawzero.org, I guess, has now raised over $30 million, and they are proceeding forward with creating their AI model, as I understand it, which the way you build it is not that different from how a normal LLM is generated currently, a large language model. But instead of trying to predict the next word like a large language model would, this AI is focused on trying to predict the accuracy of the next statement, whether it's true or false.
Okay.
So he says once you do that, you get a wide improvement in the level of safety.
My first question is how? Like what book of facts is this large language model based on where it knows what the facts are? And if there is such a book, wouldn't it already be incorporated to all these standard LLMs who are hallucinating non-facts?
That's a great point, and exactly what I was thinking about as I'm listening to him. And that is why instead of donating to him, I'm just making a call about him. Right now, I'm looking into him as a potential, person to donate to, or organization to donate to, but I'm not fully convinced yet, as many researchers are not. People have lots of different ideas. Well, they have some different ideas for how to make AI safe. But this is the one right at the moment I would say that's risen to the top of my list.
Okay. Well, if I were him, I would focus on legal precedents, because that seems to be an area where there's a disproportionate amount of hallucinations and lawyers getting in trouble for using case law in their cases that don't exist, right? And if you can, I don't know how this happens, but it's happened, more than a handful of times. And if you can get the lawyer's AI to like actually know the case law that they're citing to be true or false, that would be the first industry I would be going after.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that, like, sometimes when I call in, you guys just dismiss the idea that any of this is of any importance at all. I mean, you haven't personally, but sometimes I feel the threat is dismissed, and I appreciate you not doing that. And I do want to further address this idea that there's not a real threat here. And the person who predicted that we would reach artificial intelligence in 2029. Artificial general intelligence in 2029. Person who predicted we'd get that by that date is Ray Kurzweil, and his accuracy rating in the predictions that he's made, the very specific predictions that he's made over 40 years, is 86%. So,
wow,
this is not something you can dismiss without dismissing an 86% accuracy rating.
Okay. Well, since you brought it up, I will share, at least me personally, I'm not as threatened by it as you. And I will also suggest in parallel to that, like, he might have been 86% right for a long time. But for a long time, libertarians liked what Peter Schiff was saying about the economy, right? Until he was dead wrong about Bitcoin for 15 years and lost a lot of credibility there. So with the new technology, the old model might not be as accurate going forward. I'll say that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And Kurzweil admits that you're right. He says that he is probably off and he was probably wrong, and that it will be 2028.
Even Kurzweil knows I'm right.
Hang on, and we can continue this on the other side if you want. Otherwise, give us a call. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Some of you have wanted to support Free Talk Live's mission on a monthly basis, but don't want to support Patreon. Now we have an alternative that also helps our premier streaming platform, Odyssey. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join at the top of the channel. You can subscribe for $5 per month, and unlike other subscription services, Odyssey adds their processing fee on top, so it'll cost a little over $5 per month, but Free Talk Live will receive the entire amount you pledged. Higher donation tiers are available if you're feeling so inspired. You'll get a special membership badge that's visible in the Odyssey chat room, and if we get enough supporters, we may enable members-only chat. This new subscription method is a great way to decentralize our direct listener support away from just Patreon and also support a libertarian-run business, Odyssey. Please visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join to subscribe to our Odyssey channel and help support spreading our message around the planet. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join today. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, the US and Iran signed a memorandum of understanding, bringing an end to their conflict. The 14-point memo sets out terms for ending the war and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The deal gives both sides 60 days to resolve the future of Iran's nuclear program. But some Republican lawmakers have already attacked the agreement over the billions of dollars that could now flow to Tehran. FSN's Mitch McCann sent this report.
There are many key unanswered questions that remain here. Among them, what is the future of Iran's nuclear program, something that Donald Trump has talked about since the start of this conflict. Iran has reportedly agreed not to have a nuclear weapon, but what about nuclear power, and how will the US trust the Iranians' word moving forward? What is going to happen in terms of Iran backing or no longer backing its regional proxies? And the big question as well is what happens to the Strait of Hormuz after 60 days?
Meanwhile, the first round of planned talks in Switzerland on Friday between the US and Iran was abruptly called off. It came after Israel carried out a wave of deadly strikes on Lebanon on Friday in response to a Hezbollah attack that killed 4 Israeli soldiers. Israel and Hezbollah then recommitted to a ceasefire, but US-Iran negotiations are still in limbo. FSN's Ross Cullen sent this report from Switzerland, where the talks were due to take place on Friday.
The 60-day timeline is open. That is probably the major setback, the fact that they have not been able to use the first 2 days of this 60-day period to be able to start negotiations. But the memorandum that was signed by President Pezeshkian and President Trump, that is still in effect. But there was hopes that there would be the first round of these talks heading towards a final nuclear deal here in Switzerland today, Friday, potentially this weekend. But now we have the statement from the US Vice President's office that right now he is not coming to Switzerland.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth this week announced a 6-month Pentagon review of American forces in Europe, while NATO's nuclear planning group issued its first statement in 19 years, both unveiled on Thursday at a defense ministers' meeting in Brussels. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky was also there. FSN's William Denslow was there in Brussels and sent this report.
He met last night with Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General. He had a meeting with NATO's defence ministers to discuss continued support. This comes as Mark Rutte estimates that Russia is losing upwards of 35,000 forces each and every month. He says that is signs that Ukraine is in a strong position on the battlefield, but says yet more support is needed.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. This week, US President Donald Trump's newly appointed chair of the US Federal Reserve chaired his first policy meeting. Under Kevin Walsh, the Fed decided to leave interest rates unchanged. FSN's Kate Fisher in Washington was watching Walsh's first press conference as Fed chair.
Under its new chair, the US central bank voted to keep interest rates steady for a 4th straight meeting as Americans struggle with an inflation surge that has pushed prices to their highest level in years. The first policy vote since June last year that did not feature some form of opposition. But the apparent unanimity among officials belies the challenging position that Mr. Walsh finds himself in, having been handpicked for the job by President Trump, who's waged a relentless pressure campaign on the US central bank to lower borrowing costs. Delivering that's become all but impossible because of the war with Iran and the inflation that it's unleashed.
British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer could be facing a leadership challenge. It comes after Andy Burnham won a by-election in Greater Manchester. It means he's now a Member of Parliament and can challenge the Prime Minister, as FSN's John Beaver explains.
Of course, those who are the political opponents of the Labour Party, they say, well, if you're going to have this change in Prime Minister, then really it should go back to the people, that you should have this general election. But that's not how the system works. Of course, remember, with the previous Conservative Party, we saw a huge number of changes of the top job from Boris Johnson onwards, and all of that happened without a general election.
Senior security officials from across the BRICS bloc are convening in Delhi this coming week for a high-stakes meeting that could shape the agenda for a leaders' summit in September. The grouping includes China, Russia and Iran. And that's the Week in Review. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
An alarming new study finds that people suffering from stress-related disorders react poorly to being trapped in underwater elevators. A tired 398-month-old throws a tantrum, and a little clay thing is purchased at an arts festival. And now an eerily perfect recap of this week's news. The Catholic Church reversed its long-held stance against gay marriage this week after meeting Connecticut couple Tony and Craig. The vacationing pair dazzled the Pope and assorted clergy with their witty conversation and true loving affection for each other, leading Vatican officials to conclude that love is love and it's silly to put restrictions on it in this day and age. The Chinese people announced that they would be willing to forgive most of the United States' $1.16 trillion debt if Americans agreed to dress up in costumes and perform silly dances for them. Chinese officials encouraged U.S. citizens to wear sequined vests and prance around while slapping their big fat American tummies, promising that the more humiliating the performance, the more debt will be erased. In sports, NASCAR fans are deeply puzzled by a mysterious black family seen attending multiple races.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. It's talk radio you control. All you have to do is call 603-283-6160 and you can let us know whatever you're thinking about. I would like to thank Paul Konopasky for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Paul went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks again to Paul and everyone who supports us. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
Kahuna.
And Richie Rich.
We were talking to Dave Ridley. I believe we still have him. Dave, are you still there? Dave? Dave Ridley?
Uh-oh.
Try him again in a minute.
All right.
Let's see. We were talking about e-bike.
The e-bikes.
The e-bike gangsters.
The gangs, the rowdy kids on e-bikes running into 81-year-olds and breaking Teslas.
I bet they don't wear a helmet.
I wonder if they're like the bottle kids from Trailer Park Boys.
I think if you're going to be like stunted on a bike, you should probably wear a helmet, right? Like that would...
As long as it's your own choice, as long as it's not mandated.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
If you're going to be stunting on any sort of two-wheel vehicle, you should probably, or any vehicle at all, you should probably wear a helmet.
Probably not a bad decision.
If you're going to be out like drifting your Honda Civic, you should probably wear a helmet, right? Like that,
have a roll bar cage, right?
Yeah, that you're going to bounce your head off of if you roll it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think we have Dave Ridley again.
You try him again? Okay.
Dave, are you there? Dave Ridley?
Dave?
All right.
All right.
Maybe the AI got to him.
Oh no, the singularity happened.
Dave is the first casualty of the AI wars, as he predicted. Back into this article here. Along with these incidents, a whole other set of issues arise when riders post a call for a ride out on social media, which can trigger a gathering of dozens of riders or more. This is the nonsense.
Is this like a flash mob type deal? Like they just, like on the fly, decide they're going to meet up, kind of?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, like, again, I'll go back to like the mopeds in Hawaii. I never participated in any of these things, but a coworker of mine did.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do a ride on Sunday. You know, they just call it like, I'm just gonna go ride with a bunch. And he was like, dude, they scared me. I'm like, why? What happened? He's like, all of a sudden they just all got on the freeway. I was like, I've never been on the freeway on the moped before, and like, I don't know what to do. I was like, but I just rode, like, stayed in the middle of the pack.
I mean, I can understand that, because even on a full size Harley motorcycle, I personally don't like to ride on the highway.
Okay.
Like, I don't find it enjoyable, and that's a bigger bike. It's going to be more comfortable, so I can totally get why he would say that.
Yeah. But it was probably like dozens of mopeds just getting on the freeway.
Yeah.
You know, and disperse. Like the cops show up, you just disperse and one gets caught. Cause,
you go in like 15 different directions.
Right. Yeah. Law enforcement officials said the large crowds can be known to get rowdy.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, but this next part is what like gets me. Like this is what I hate. Block large streets as they ride in mass, and a few occasions turn violent. Like I don't care if they want to fight amongst themselves, but like I just hate the culture that blocks the streets.
I mean that's just like again, it's sort of different but kind of the same. Like when you protest, right? And you saw a lot of this, I think, particularly during COVID, is you get a group of like 100 people and they'll just sit down in the middle of the freeway.
Yeah.
Like that's not cool.
Uncalled for.
That's not cool, dude. Like
it's bad tactics.
Yeah, like
as a protest.
Yeah.
It doesn't draw anybody to your side. Like no one's sympathetic to your cause when you inconvenience people.
Right.
They just want to see you flattened into the pavement and rolled over with the press.
Yep.
And I'm with them.
Yep.
Like that's,
Unless you were to do it like in Washington, D.C., then I think I might be okay with that.
And why is that?
Blocking streets? Because you're blocking the politicians?
Yeah, I know politicians are going to get to where they're trying to go, and they're just going to jam everything up. And if you're living there, I don't have a lot of sympathy for you.
Okay. All right. I wouldn't want to be a tourist in Washington, D.C. held up by protester traffic.
What are you touristing in Washington, D.C. for?
I don't know.
You want to see the monuments?
You want to go to Mordor on vacation?
I've done. With my ex, we went to Washington, D.C. because that's where her brother worked.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went down there for Christmas. And while we were there, we did like the touristy thing. But I made sure to have my shirt that I wore to all these tourist attractions that says, "This is the worst town I've ever been in."
Excellent.
And it is the T-shirt that I wear anytime I have to leave New Hampshire for any reason. I wear my "This is the worst town I've ever been in" shirt.
Do you get people make comments, or you just get people laughing?
The security guard at like one of the monument things was like, "Really? I'm like, "Absolutely,
yeah, really, dude,
100%."
No. I didn't wear this shirt randomly, man. I actually made a conscious decision this morning to put it on.
That's funny.
Anytime I have to leave the state, I find that shirt.
We can go to the phones right now. We've got a caller from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Not Dave Ridley.
What's on your mind?
What is this nonsense about having the right not to wear a helmet?
Nonsense.
The libertarian. It's nonsense. I'm about to say it. If you let me finish.
No.
Doesn't make sense. Like the whole idea of like what you consider as like universal rights and ownership, it's incoherent. Not only is it, first, it's unenforceable.
Who are you talking to? Because I think we have different opinions here.
Wait, you're not pro freedom to not wear a helmet?
I am. Just
okay.
He says he's speaking about generalities of property rights and what do you say, ownership and
but specifically about he wants laws mandating
the right not
helmet
to wear a helmet and ownership. They don't make you'll claim they're the same thing, ultimately the same thing, but it doesn't make any sense. Before you ask if someone has the right not to wear a helmet, you have to ask who owns the land. Am I right or wrong?
What land?
No, that's fair.
The land wherever the rule you think you're applying it to, wherever the right you think that person has
the public roadway
residing on.
Well, see, those roadways existed, though, before the government claimed ownership of them. They were just made by people that needed to get to the next town over.
If I go to the go-kart track, the company that runs the go-kart track is going to ask me to wear a helmet.
Yes, and that's fair.
Exactly. So you don't have this universal right not to wear a helmet, right? First, you have to ask who owns the road.
Okay. Who owns the road?
Am I right or not? Same thing with your self-ownership. This applies to all the human rights you think applies to you as well. Now, who owns the road? Who owns the road? Who owns the road?
The public. We, the people.
The citizens. Just like the country.
Unless you're on a private road.
Also true. Yeah.
Like your house.
Which I brought up the example of the go-kart track.
Right. But you could be on a private road that's not a go-kart track.
Even a private road.
Disneyland or Disney World.
Right.
They have private roads everywhere.
Even a private road is co-owned by the rest of the citizens, just in different proportions. Just that the quote-unquote owner has actually a lot more say on what the rules are, but he doesn't have a say in all the rules because he doesn't fully own these quote-unquote private roads. They're not really private, right?
That's the problem that we're trying to solve.
This is what you guys aren't processing.
No, we get it. We just see it as a problem, and you see it as A-okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We would prefer that all the roads be private. That is not the situation we live in, and that's one of the things that we are working towards.
There's there's no problem with respect to liberty in this. This is what I'm trying to say. There's no problem with co-ownership with respect to liberty. There's a problem with how productive it is, how efficient it is, but that's not what libertarians are arguing.
There's a problem with cartelization.
Yeah,
that's an efficiency argument, not a liberty argument.
They won't let me build a bypass road.
Yeah, because you don't own the
They won't let me buy the property and build a bypass road.
Yes,
well, you could buy the property. It would just take a lot of money.
But even Skeeter will say that you don't fully own it 100% because he just said no private property is 100%.
You can. You just have to get full approval from the federal and state and local government.
You can rent it or own it fee simple, but not alloidal.
Right.
No, you
can.
He
just said,
theoretically you can.
Like he just said earlier in his argument, even the private roads in Disneyland aren't really all private because like the government or whatever also owns the land.
Yeah, their own fee simple.
Okay. So what's your point, Skeeter? You don't have a problem with it. We just said it's a problem.
You're already living in Ancapistan, except no one wants to try Ancapistan with the land. So there's nothing to complain about as far as being a libertarian.
So what should Stu do if he wants to build that bypass? If this is Ancapistan, he can do it. He can buy the land, put on the bypass.
No,
then it's not Ancapistan.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it is Ancapistan. He has to first buy it. So he has to, the owner, which is all the citizens of the United States, in different proportions, have to agree to sell it to him.
But when I'm trying to build my road,
he's got to get permission from 300 million people.
But when I'm trying to build my bypass road that goes from one coast to the other, I'm going to run in. I'm going to eventually run into some area of land that I can't get through because it's owned by a cartel that will not sell it at any price.
Well, that's it's not a cartel. Like
what are you talking about?
The meaning of cartel is very arbitrary, right?
They're the sole proprietors of this particular function or service.
Did you look at the definition, Stu? Did you look at the definition of ownership? Have you ever looked at the definition of ownership? That is a monopoly. The definition of ownership is a monopoly. You have the full monopoly of force and rule setting on that piece of land.
Yeah, but not on all pieces of land.
When a large group owns a piece of land, they have a right to have delegates make the rules for them. It's still consistent with liberty.
That's where we disagree. It's not consistent.
Your
example of like the 300 million Americans owned all the land in America in different proportions, and that Stu, in order to do what he wants with the property, has to get permission from all 300 million Americans before he can do anything with it, is the dumbest thing, one of the dumbest things that ever comes out of your mouth.
Instead of calling it a democracy, how about this? Instead of calling it democracy, let's just call it the Corporation of the United States.
He says too many dumb things for me to really have a list.
Well, now you're going into conspiracy theory land. Are you saying the United States is a corporation?
Yeah, it's just like a private corporation.
Oh, okay.
So you think each individual shareholder has a right to any piece of the corporate land? No, they have to get permission from the board through the board of the rest of the shareholders. Am I right or wrong?
Who sits on the board then?
Your elected officials.
The shareholders elect, just like the citizens. Only
but I never elected anybody.
Shareholders are just uniform. The voting and ownership rights are just distributed uniformly over the citizens.
They were elected
so
on your behalf.
Forced representation, and that's what you call liberty.
Not forced. That's a privilege.
What are you talking about? I never asked anyone to represent me. I never elected anyone.
No one asked you to be born. Well, other than your parents, no one asked for you to be born on the land. The rest of the
that's a great argument.
Ask for that. So. No, yeah, but this is what you're implying, right? You're implying that it's
Skeeter
not fair.
is holding up the roads and getting nobody on his side.
Yep.
No, this is what Stu's arguing, right? Now, if he was born on corporate land, like a Walmart, if he was born in a Walmart store, is Walmart obliged to give him a piece of the land the store sits on so he can be free?
No.
Or does
Walmart get to claim ownership over me because I was born there, though?
Yes.
They might.
You have to follow the rules. You have to follow the rules, right? As long as you stay on their property. Am I right or wrong? without signing a contract, right?
I think if I were inadvertently just born there and I was breaking their rules, I think I'd be within my rights to do so. There was no way I could have ever not been there.
So I will also bring this up again, because this is one of Skeeter's tactics, is this false equivalency between the United States federal government and like a legitimate corporation. He tries to equate the two and use his examples as if the two acquired everything legitimately, and it's been rebutted so many times that I just don't want to allow him to build an argument on it again and again and again.
I already addressed this, right? Ownership is never a question on full legitimacy, right? The question is, they
stole that from you fair and square.
Which means, and again, my answer to that is if they've stolen it fair and square, right? If that's the way to acquire
you
land,
steal something fair and square.
Understood. But if that's their methodology, right, then you can steal it back fair and square because that's how you do it.
You ought to be able to.
First,
you just take it back and then defend it because that's what they did.
First, the current citizens, none of them stole any land. None of them. None
then
of
they
them
don't own
it. Stole any land. No. My point is, right?
If they weren't part of the theft, they can't claim ownership over it.
When there's a dispute, hold on. When there's a dispute between two parties on ownership of land, it's whoever has a higher, more legitimate claim, not a full legitimate claim to the land, right? You as a newborn do not have the same rights as a victim who got their land stolen. That's the difference. You understand
I think
that?
we can agree on that. If you got your land stolen, you definitely have a right to get it back, whereas a newborn doesn't have a claim on it.
Yeah, exactly. Then why are you making a claim on the land?
So if a newborn,
you're not even associated with the victim.
Hold on. If the newborn doesn't have claim to the land, right, then 300 million Americans don't have a claim to the land. Because at one point, there were newborns with zero claim to the land, and they didn't acquire ownership of the land through any legitimate purpose throughout their lifespan.
That's what Skeeter's saying.
They did acquire. I'm saying the newborn isn't born with.
No, that none of us own any of this.
No, he's saying the opposite. He's saying we all 300 million Americans
I know, he's a very confused
own a
person,
very small percentage of all the land. Which is why if you, Stu, want to put up a bypass, you have to get permission from 300 million Americans because we all collectively own it.
By virtue of just being born here, though.
But he contradicted that by saying a newborn doesn't have a claim to the land.
No,
it doesn't have a claim to the Walmart they were born in.
Just pretend like you're muted because no one wants to listen to you anyway.
No, but let me clarify because you make the same mistake over and over again. There's no contradiction there. You're making contradiction because you're using praxeology,
contradicted
right?
yourself.
Okay, clear it up then.
I'm not saying a newborn. I'm saying the citizens as a collective have a higher claim to than any newborn, and that newborn is given the privilege of co-ownership as soon as they're born.
So you do have claim as a newborn. You as a newborn, you have claim to the land.
Equal claim to any other individual.
Only because it was given to you as a privilege from the rest of the citizens.
And every citizen has equal claim over it.
No,
Bill Gates doesn't have more claim than the homeless guy down the street.
Not when they were first born.
Well, in theory, it's supposed to work like. Yes, in the public areas, the common areas, just like in an HOA.
You just said that everything is the common areas because you can't truly own something.
No, not everything is the common. There's like private areas too.
So can Stu build his bypass on private areas?
No, he can't. Well, no, he can't. He can't.
Where can Stu build the bypass? He can't build it on the public areas. You can't build it on the private areas. He's got to get 300 million people's permission to do it.
That's it. That's the only way.
What's the only way?
The 300 million.
That's consistent. That's consistent with co-ownership. Like Bonnie can't just do whatever she wants with Ian's house. I don't know if she co-owns the house. You can't just do.
So how does an individual get solo ownership over a piece of land?
Bilateral succession.
You've already disputed like New Hampshire's right to secede the land, and now you're saying the only way to get the land is to secede.
You're saying so the only way to own land is illegitimate. Since bilateral secession is illegitimate.
Bilateral secession is legitimate.
Oh, it is
under libertarian.
So New
theory,
Hampshire can secede from the United States.
bilaterally secede.
Okay.
You get the consensus of all the co-owners.
So we're back to like the 300 million.
Do their delegates. What's that?
So we're back to the 300 million. The only way to own the land solo is to get the approval of 300 million people.
Of course, yes.
Of course.
Isn't that simple?
So simple.
Such an obvious answer.
Yeah. Just get 300 million people to allow you to have a plot of land, and you're golden.
I'm not saying it's simple. I'm saying that's how it is.
It sounds dumb. It sounds dumb, and it sounds like no one's going to value that ethic other than you.
How do you? So let me ask you then: if it's so ridiculous, how do you gain ownership from a piece of land that's owned by a group of people? Do you just get it from one person?
No.
Even if you're a co-owner, let's say you're just an equal co-owner of a piece of land.
Well, if you're an equal, you just do what you want with it, and then we have the tragedy of the commons, right?
Well, that's an efficiency argument, not a liberty argument.
Okay.
Every time you reference tragedy of the commons, that doesn't apply to liberty. Like
sure,
you can have inefficient monopoly under libertarianism. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to be inefficient.
What's your point? If Stu has equal rights to that part of land, he can just build his bypass because he's got equal rights to it. He doesn't need to get permission. He just does it.
No, that's not how it works.
Why not?
You think I can just? You think I just take a forklift off the corporate land if I own a share?
Yeah. If you own it, it's yours.
Yeah, if you're one share is equal to the value of a forklift, go ahead.
Yep. Yeah.
No, you can't even do that.
Why not?
You think because even if your share was equal to the value of the forklift, it doesn't tell you what you can decide what you can take off it.
If I own part of a thing, I can do what I want with part of the thing.
With your one share, you have one voting right, right? One part of the voting right where you can ask the collective if you can take the forklift off the property and keep it. That's how it works in the libertarian.
So what you just said reminds me of like this socialist professor was asked a question during an interview, and he said, this student asked him, under socialism, how would I get a PS5? Right, and the socialist professor said, well, you would have to draft a statement of need or a statement of desire or a statement of intent. Take it to the collective. Pitch your idea to the group. And if the group agrees that, yes, your desire, your need, your want for this PlayStation 5 is valid from the collective, well, then, yes, you can then acquire the PlayStation 5 from the group, the collective funds or whatever. So it's just socialism, right? Your whole idea is just socialism and collective ownership, which individual liberty and libertarians reject not on an efficiency means, but on principle as just a garbage way to conduct human business.
No, socialism is a special case for co-ownership, right? Socialism is a case.
It's the one you're pitching. If we have to get permission from every individual in order to do something with land, right? That's socialism.
Let me finish my point. Let you finish yours.
I'd hold you over if you were more interesting,
but you suck.
Thanks for the call tonight, Skeeter. Give us a call, 603-283-6160. I'm sure you can do a whole lot better than that without even trying. This is Free Talk Live.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. In addition to being one of the world's first cryptocurrencies, Dash was the first crypto project to have a decentralized autonomous organization that to this day continues to improve and promote Dash. Every month, 10% of the mining rewards go into a treasury. Anyone with one Dash to spend can put forward a proposal to the Dash masternodes. The masternodes vet the proposals and decide which ones move forward and are funded by that treasury. Nowadays, DAOs are plentiful, but Dash paved the way by doing it first nearly a decade ago. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at Dash.org. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit Dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, the US and Iran signed a memorandum of understanding, bringing an end to their conflict. The 14-point memo sets out terms for ending the war and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The deal gives both sides 60 days to resolve the future of Iran's nuclear program. But some Republican lawmakers have already attacked the agreement over the billions of dollars that could now flow to Tehran. FSN's Mitch McCann sent this report.
There are many key unanswered questions that remain here. Among them, what is the future of Iran's nuclear program, something that Donald Trump has talked about since the start of this conflict. Iran has reportedly agreed not to have a nuclear weapon, but what about nuclear power, and how will the US trust the Iranians' word moving forward? What is going to happen in terms of Iran backing or no longer backing its regional proxies? And the big question as well is what happens to the Strait of Hormuz after 60 days?
Meanwhile, the first round of planned talks in Switzerland on Friday between the US and Iran was abruptly called off. It came after Israel carried out a wave of deadly strikes on Lebanon on Friday in response to a Hezbollah attack that killed 4 Israeli soldiers. Israel and Hezbollah then recommitted to a ceasefire, but US-Iran negotiations are still in limbo. FSN's Ross Cullen sent this report from Switzerland, where the talks were due to take place on Friday.
The 60-day timeline is open. That is probably the major setback, the fact that they have not been able to use the first 2 days of this 60-day period to be able to start negotiations. But the memorandum that was signed by President Pezeshkian and President Trump, that is still in effect. But there was hopes that there would be the first round of these talks heading towards a final nuclear deal here in Switzerland today, Friday, potentially this weekend. But now we have the statement from the US Vice President's office that right now he is not coming to Switzerland.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth this week announced a 6-month Pentagon review of American forces in Europe, while NATO's nuclear planning group issued its first statement in 19 years, both unveiled on Thursday at a defense ministers' meeting in Brussels. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky was also there. FSN's William Denslow was there in Brussels and sent this report.
He met last night with Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General. He had a meeting with NATO's defence ministers to discuss continued support. This comes as Mark Rutte estimates that Russia is losing upwards of 35,000 forces each and every month. He says that is signs that Ukraine is in a strong position on the battlefield, but says yet more support is needed.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. Give us a call. Let us know what you're thinking about tonight. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. Are you tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites? Our Mastodon server at social.freetalklive.com can set you free. Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Social.freetalklive.com. In the studio tonight, it's Stu,
Kahuna,
and Richie Rich.
Last segment, we talked to Skeeter. That was a lot of fun. If you go in for that kind of a thing.
Time to recharge your energy batteries.
I'm waiting for the day where he actually thinks there's an opinion other than his is valid.
No.
But I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
No. Well, not from this studio. So
yes,
in general, like he's on a kick of rebutting libertarians.
Right,
like he's just so he's got like a few authors that he's read and books that he's like, oh, you guys gotta like read this guy. And like, I've already read the communist stuff and socialist stuff, and I'm against it for more than just efficiency reasons. But I've also suggested, like, if he's such an intellectual, right, like write a paper, right? Not don't make a YouTube video about evolutionary capitalism, but like write a paper and just rebut all the actual libertarian thinkers out there, the prominent ones at least that are still publishing, rather than arguing with us.
Or better yet, Skeeter, why don't you host your own show, and then you can have other people who sort of agree with you call in.
No one else agrees with him.
Oh, I know.
That's the thing.
I know.
That's because
sorry, man,
a little bit off his rocker.
Yeah.
And again, it's like he's been bringing up the same argument for so long, and it's been rebutted in a myriad of different ways, and he never addresses the rebuttal. He just goes back to the original.
But if he calls in like 817 times, on the 817th time, you're going to finally get it, man. You're going to understand why you've been wrong all this time.
I've rejected it every single time. He's made some interesting points along the way.
Yeah.
Right, but none of them pan out to like the full argument.
We invite lively debate, but man, you got to have some give and take here,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to point it out if you're being contradictory or if what you're saying is just foolish.
Yep.
Both.
Yeah, in his case, definitely both. Right. Was there more to the e-bike gangs?
I'm going to leave that up to you. This is a long article, so I can keep going, or we can switch it up.
Well, I'm kind of invested now. I want to find out if they have a solution.
No, they don't have a solution.
Oh.
I can guarantee you by the end of this article, the police in California don't have a solution.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like the way it goes all the time. They're using this to justify more fees, more licenses, more taxes, more cops, more control, right? I mean, they're sort of almost, to some extent, I'm not saying it isn't a problem, because some of the stuff definitely is an issue, but they're going to sort of leverage it and manufacture something that's larger than what it really is.
I will also suggest that this is young male behavior.
Yeah.
And this is this generation's manifestation of it.
Correct.
Right?
I bet you could find a news article that's ridiculously similar to this one from back in like the era when skateboards were brand new.
Yeah, I brought up skateboards earlier. Yeah, skateboards
these darn skateboarding gangs are a menace to society, and look, all these people are getting hurt.
Yeah.
Kids these days.
Yeah, it's always kids these days, and these kids are riding e-bikes at a top speed of 50 miles an hour. Woo!
That's not that much faster than you can pedal a bike without a little electric motor on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's what they were the case that the article was making was, what's to differentiate like an e-bike from an e-motorcycle? How fast are these things going?
Yeah, well, if they're going to keep up that line of reasoning, then what's to differentiate a non-motorized bicycle from those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, like, what's the difference between an e-bike and just standard pedal assist?
Right.
It's like I pedal most of the way and I struggle uphill, so I kick on the pedal assist. Am I now riding an e-bike? If it only goes like 12 miles an hour uphill? All right. Sam El Said, a 51-year-old from Huntington Beach, was attacked by several young men May 9th after he and his wife rode their e-scooters through a crowd of more than 100 people on e-bikes. 2 minors have been arrested. So, again, that's the bike culture, right? Like, oh, you're not allowed to like pass us or go through us or whatever. You're not allowed.
100 kids on e-bikes? Is that what it said?
100 people on e-bikes.
Hang on. This was they were riding somewhere that they were supposed to be riding, and everybody was riding an e-bike and having a good old time, and then some 2 old people came in there on their
e-scooters,
and decided they were going to ride with them.
I don't know if they were going to ride with them. No. They were probably just trying to get through, and then were attacked.
Well, they should have definitely gone around or something else, because you're not fast enough to get in that crowd.
I mean, there's
You need to modify your Scooty Puff so it goes 50 miles an hour.
Well, it says a crowd. It doesn't say like they were. It doesn't say like they were. Riding. It wasn't a moving roadblock.
Yeah, I mean,
down the lane.
We've kind of had a somewhat of a theme so far tonight about motorcycles and motorcycle rallies and bikes, and I would say on this point, there's kind of this unwritten culture. Let's say rules, but there's unwritten rules. Like if you see, like for example, if I'm riding by myself on a motorcycle, and I'll say I see a group of riders, they're obviously together, they're going somewhere. There's like 10, 15, 20 of them in a pack. It would be a faux pas, and in some cases, depending on the group, you could be putting yourself in a lot of danger if you just sort of attach yourself to that group.
Sure.
Like it's just not done.
What if you just want to go around the group?
It depends.
It does depend.
It depends.
So go on.
If it's, I'll say like a friendly group of locals, and they might even wave you on, right? Like they can see, hey, like whatever. And I'm not picking on any group, but I mean, I'm just going to use a group that's well known, right? It would be one example, and there's others. I'll give a couple examples. If it's the Hells Angels, for example, if it's the Mongols, those are 1% clubs. Probably not a good idea. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And if you ride a motorcycle, you know what I'm talking about.
Worse
right?
if you ride a motorcycle because you're not allowed to pass us, even though we're going slow.
That's part of the culture, and especially a 1%er. It's called a 1%er, right? That would be a bad time for you, probably.
Okay.
And I would use the same or similar analogy here, right? Perhaps something like that happened, right?
Yeah. I will say that I've split a motorcycle group because they're riding like a-holes, and I'm not dealing with it.
Okay.
So like,
and what happened?
Nothing.
Okay.
I rode in between them until they went their own way, and I went my own way.
Okay.
Because again, this was, the road splits into two so that you can pass.
Yep.
Right. The vast majority of them was in one lane, and then one dude decided like, I'm just going to branch off and block the second lane so nobody can pass.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm not having any of that. Yep. So I used the overflow lane to go around him and to like dive right into the
overflow
pack.
lane the oncoming lane?
No, I went around him on the right because there was where
like
I
the
did
shoulder
it,
then.
Not quite the shoulder. It would have turned into the shoulder. I'm going to call it the overflow because there's part of the lane that turns right, right. So there was a lane, and then it merges back in on the other side of the intersection.
Okay.
So like call it what you want. That's where I made my pass because he was the one motorcycle that wouldn't let you through to get ahead of the whole pack.
Okay.
Right. And so I couldn't get around the whole pack because I had to deal with him, and I just ducked right in and split the pack and screw him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's pretty bold, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm a bold guy.
Yeah.
I don't tolerate this nonsense.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Made sure that my weaponry was at the ready just in case they tried to do something. But if they want to play, like we can play.
Yeah.
When they get in these packs, they get brazen. El Sayed said, "I can't tell what provoked them, but I know the only one that experienced these types of. But I know I'm not the only one that experienced these types of things. Yeah." Nothing needs to provoke them. They're just automatically provoked when you try to do something different than what they're allowing, because they're claiming some of your liberty for the moment. He's seen the large crowd of e-bike riders gather regularly near the beach, he said, on the weekends and the summer months. These kids will ride down the street and play chicken with cars, he said. They just go out there and wreak havoc. I would win that game of chicken as well. Summertime will likely bring more riders out, and police are trying to get as much information and education out to the public as they can before to prevent more injuries on the street, Pon said. Part of the issue is that parents are unaware of the types of e-bikes that are being purchased, and instead providing teenagers with e-motorcycles and dirt bikes. You think parents are unaware?
I would say I would place a bet that yes, some of them are, but that's I would say that's definitely more of a parenting issue. In other words,
like kid comes home and says, "Mom, I want this e-bike," and he shows her a picture of an e-motorcycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is
or if the parent doesn't ask questions, like I'm trying to put myself in the parent's shoes, right? I'd say, okay, like can I see it? Like tell me more about it. I'd probably read the specs.
Okay.
But I can definitely see some parents for sure that are gonna.
Sure, honey. Here's $1,000.
Yeah, like
go get your bike.
Whatever, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with states, especially ones like California, that have claimed so much, parental ownership over your children.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, what are they complaining about? Like these parents have outsourced that job to you already.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing about it?
Pulling them over and giving them tickets.
Yeah. Well, the one guy threatened to come after the parents. But that's you, man.
Yeah. E-bikes in California are split into 3 classifications depending on features and maximum speeds. Class 1 bicycles have an electric motor that engages only when manual pedals are used, with a maximum motor speed of 20 miles an hour. Class 2 bicycles also provide electrical power up to 20 miles an hour, but have a throttle that can be used without the pedals. Okay. And Class 3 bikes are similar to Class 1 pedal bikes, but have a maximum speed of 28 miles per hour, and the rider must be over 16 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
But electric cycles that can boost power past 28 miles per hour, have a motor stronger than 750 watts, or do not have pedals, are not legally considered e-bikes in California. According to the California Department of Justice, those vehicles are instead considered electric mopeds or motorcycles and are required to be registered with the DMV and the rider to have a motorcycle license. Bikers must have a label that identifies what class of e-bike they are, and the California Department of Justice earlier this month warned retailers that misrepresenting electric motorcycles as e-bikes is a crime. I feel, I know you smoke, Stu, but like the vapors with their vape mods, and like it's only supposed to allow like a certain amount of vape, whatever, but they mod it so they get big old blasts.
That's really a thing.
It's modding your vape, totally a thing.
Okay,
it's a whole it's a culture in and of itself.
Okay.
So I'm just like, the retailer sells you this motorcycle, and there's, the aftermarket culture.
Like the tuners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get your like 28 mile per hour e-bike, and you tune it up to 50 with aftermarket parts.
Yeah, I'm down with that, man.
And they're going to go after Walmart. We have to get this out there because I do believe that most of these collisions, for the large part, they're likely preventable, Pon said. On May 10th, after the warnings went out, Amazon agreed to stop selling e-bikes that went over the state's limit. We are in the process of removing e-bike listings that do not comply with California speed regulations, the company confirmed to the Times in an email. So again, it doesn't say that Amazon doesn't sell in California. They just don't sell at all, right? So if you're in a state that doesn't have this regulation, you can't buy the bike off of Amazon anymore because it's easier for Amazon just to comply with the lowest common denominator.
Thanks, California, for ruining it for the rest of us.
Right, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like all the emissions problems with cars and the stretch to go EV. That's all a California thing.
Well, yeah, I mean that started in. I believe it started in California when they said by 2035 or whatever the date was, it'll be banned in the state of California where it would be illegal to sell, I'll say, a gas-powered car or vehicle.
Right.
And you can only sell EVs. And then other states piled on, the typical ones, like New York State, for example, would be probably another one. But the genesis was in California.
Yeah. But even if the other states didn't pile on, the manufacturers would.
Correct.
Because the vast majority of their sales are going to be in California.
Well, look what happened. I mean, it's not a coincidence that all of a sudden companies, they started introducing the hybrids and the plug-in hybrids,
right?
That sort of thing.
Right.
This is essentially what happened with beer in Utah, except it went the other way. So Utah had a legal limit on their beer of 3.2% alcohol by volume.
Okay.
For a long time.
That used to be the case.
And the beer companies finally got tired of making a special batch of Utah beer.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it was costing them money. And they said, look, we're not going to sell beer to Utah anymore unless you want to buy 5.7.
Yep.
And so Utah changed the law. And now you can buy 5% beer.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me it was the opposite.
No.
But Utah doesn't have the purchasing power as California.
Okay.
Right.
So Utah can't make those demands California has vast many more consumers than Utah, so the manufacturers
when
do what's
comparing
profitable.
the beer market in Utah to the car market in California.
Right? Yeah. So that makes
two totally different things. Yes.
That makes sense depending on the amount of leverage you have as the company in whatever state.
Yeah.
Right. Companies will leave states, right? And I think I don't know what the article that I read, but more firearm manufacturers are moving into New Hampshire. Right, and that's there's been some openings of factories or whatever here because hey, it's just easier to not deal with the regulations in other states.
Yep.
So yeah,
to all the gun manufacturers out there, thank you for your service. That is a nasty job. Making gun parts is no fun.
Okay.
Right now we're gonna go to the phone. So we've got Turd Ferguson on the phone. What's up, Turd? What's on your mind?
Well, I was just listening to your show, as I usually do on Sundays, and I was enjoying it, although I have to admit that, since I've kind of walked away from libertarianism, which was the right decision in my opinion, but the sort of more and more difficult it becomes, the more disingenuous I find libertarians to be, and especially, and you guys kind of touched on it a little bit ago during your call with Skeeter, although Skeeter's so intolerable, it's hard to even listen to his calls these days.
You haven't moved to evolutionary capitalism then?
I don't even know what Skeeter calls his ideology, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't even know what that is, and I don't know what it is, and it sounds idiotic. So
even normies don't get it.
Would you say more idiotic than libertarianism?
It's probably pretty, I'd say, and that's saying a lot because libertarianism is pretty idiotic. but one of my main issues with libertarianism, and this is kind of really where I started to split with them a few years ago, is like this concept of rights, right? Like a right. And I mean, I have enough of an issue with the non-aggression principle, which ties into this too, but one of the conclusions that I did come to a long time ago was that a right is really only good as the force to back it.
No, that's a bunch of crap.
It's true.
A right is anything that isn't wrong.
No, well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what people.
But that's what it is.
What libertarians consider their rights to be.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like most Americans are completely snowed on what rights means.
Yeah.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
Say what? I'm sorry?
I'm with you on this one, but go on.
I'm pretty well with you on this one.
It sounds like, well, good. I mean, it sounds like you might be. But and what I do, especially when I talk to libertarians about this issue, is I kind of use one of their own libertarian thought experiments where it's like, okay, well, let's take the government out of the picture. Like what would happen in quote unquote natural law is what the law libertarians usually call it. But if me, person X, and person Y were in the woods, and person Y claims that they have the right to free speech, and I walked up to them in the woods with a gun, and I determine that they don't have the right to free speech, then their free speech right, quote unquote, is only as good as after the shootout we have to determine whether or not they really have the right to free speech.
No, that's nonsense. They're just being coerced into not exercising something that is their right.
Well, it doesn't. Well, you can call it
speech. They were born with it, and you can't take it away. You can coerce somebody into not exercising it, but that right's always going to remain.
You can
in other words, inalienable.
Coercion. You can call it coercion, but at the end of the day, your right is only as good as the force that you're willing to use.
Just because you choose not to exercise your right doesn't make it not your right.
I'm not talking about exercising them or not. I'm talking about your right is only as good as the force that you use to back it up if you need to.
So again, I'm with you, Turd, but let me take your thought experiment and try to reframe it a little bit and maybe find an understanding. So I don't want to say you're wrong in the thought experiment, but
right, because I'm not wrong. It's the truth.
Okay. Yeah, fine. You're right in the thought experiment, but let me try to work this through with you. Do you think that the conception of rights is useful when communicating these ideas?
What ideas?
The right to free speech, the right to property, the right to life, liberty, and property. Do you find that using the term rights can be a useful tool when trying to explain these concepts.
I mean, you mean like legally speaking? I suppose legally speaking.
No, just in conversation.
I mean, what do you mean? Do I find any value in having the word right?
Yes.
I mean, I suppose so.
Okay, and so we don't have to agree that the rights exist, but we can agree that they're useful for explaining some of these topics in conversation.
Well, I'm not saying rights, by the way, I'm not saying rights, quote unquote, don't exist either. I'm just saying a right is only as good as the force that backs it.
Right.
You're saying might makes right.
I'm getting
essentially.
there. Yeah, I'm getting there. So the difference with your example when you're talking to Stu is, you show up with a gun and say you don't have a right to free speech, and then we resort to the violence to see whose rights will prevail. Right.
Right.
And in the way Stu would frame it is, I do have a right to free speech, but you with the gun are violating that right by using the gun to try to coerce me into silence.
Well, I mean, you can define it that way, and I see where you're coming from. But the problem is, at the end of the day, the person that prevails in the shootout in that moment is inherently correct. You know what I mean? Regardless of whether you like it or not. It's the truth. This is usually where I start to run into the issue with having this conversation with libertarians. Is like, look, I still feel like I align probably the most with your ideology. Okay. But at the end of the day, you have to be a libertarian, you have to sort of suspend some level of like understanding of the world, or like you have to be sort of disingenuous to be a libertarian. Well, and that's what I found, because
let's extend the example, right? You coerce someone into silence, you have the shootout, you win, right? So like they clearly didn't have the right to free speech because you shot them, right?
Right.
Now, under the libertarian philosophy, you would then be in the wrong for violating the rights, right? And
how. Okay, and how are you going to find that I'm wrong for violating the rights? What are you going to do?
If there's more than just the two of us out in the wilderness,
you're going to find somebody else to use force.
Yes.
Against me because I violated your quote unquote rights.
Because you surrendered your rights.
Because you need
at the moment that you
somebody else
acted outside of your rights.
Hold on a second.
By pulling a gun.
Somebody else to use force to enforce your right.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Got it.
But they would be
we've now arrived at the same point.
But you didn't have a right to show up and coerce somebody with a gun for doing something that was within their rights.
Yeah,
but they would be doing so in protection of the general community, because you have now presented yourself as a threat to all living beings,
right?
By pulling the gun.
You get somebody else to use force against me to punish me, right? Mm-hmm. So it's only as good as the force that's behind it.
Yeah. I told you I agreed with that premise from the beginning, but if you pull a gun on somebody, and everyone else finds out, you're going to die, and it's not a good strategy.
Give us a call, 603-283-6160. Does might make right? I don't think so.
But it makes it so.
Are you a helpless moron perplexed by the world? Wish there was a device that enabled you to consult the Onion Book of Known Knowledge anytime, anywhere? Then you need the Book Bjorn, the amazing new wearable invention that makes you and the Onion Book of Known Knowledge inseparable. Never again be stumped by the panoply of bizarre objects filling your field of vision. Never take it off. Never be without it. All this for just 4 easy payments of $39.93. The Book Bjorn. The Book Bjorn. And if you call now, you'll receive the special page-turning wand. Turn pages with the greatest of ease. The special reading light to wrench knowledge from utter darkness. The book umbrella to protect the Onion Book of Known Knowledge's precious pages from the elements. Book Bjorn. This $800 value can be yours today. Send a check or money order to the Book Bjorn, care of the Zwiebel Center for Knowledge Studies, 15 Zwiebel Way, Macau, China. Do not hesitate. Buy now. The Book Bjorn.
Eleutheromania. The insatiable desire for freedom. We have been enslaved for all our lives. It's the new 3-song heavy metal EP from Captain Kickass. Available now on your favorite music app or get it directly from CaptainKickass.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, the US and Iran signed a memorandum of understanding, bringing an end to their conflict. The 14-point memo sets out terms for ending the war and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The deal gives both sides 60 days to resolve the future of Iran's nuclear program. But some Republican lawmakers have already attacked the agreement over the billions of dollars that could now flow to Tehran. FSN's Mitch McCann sent this report.
There are many key unanswered questions that remain here. Among them, what is the future of Iran's nuclear program, something that Donald Trump has talked about since the start of this conflict. Iran has reportedly agreed not to have a nuclear weapon, but what about nuclear power, and how will the US trust the Iranians' word moving forward? What is going to happen in terms of Iran backing or no longer backing its regional proxies? And the big question as well is what happens to the Strait of Hormuz after 60 days?
Meanwhile, the first round of planned talks in Switzerland on Friday between the US and Iran was abruptly called off. It came after Israel carried out a wave of deadly strikes on Lebanon on Friday in response to a Hezbollah attack that killed 4 Israeli soldiers. Israel and Hezbollah then recommitted to a ceasefire, but US-Iran negotiations are still in limbo. FSN's Ross Cullen sent this report from Switzerland, where the talks were due to take place on Friday.
The 60-day timeline is open. That is probably the major setback, the fact that they have not been able to use the first 2 days of this 60-day period to be able to start negotiations. But the memorandum that was signed by President Pezeshkian and President Trump, that is still in effect. But there was hopes that there would be the first round of these talks heading towards a final nuclear deal here in Switzerland today, Friday, potentially this weekend. But now we have the statement from the US Vice President's office that right now he is not coming to Switzerland.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth this week announced a 6-month Pentagon review of American forces in Europe, while NATO's nuclear planning group issued its first statement in 19 years, both unveiled on Thursday at a defense ministers' meeting in Brussels. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky was also there. FSN's William Denslow was there in Brussels and sent this report.
He met last night with Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General. He had a meeting with NATO's defence ministers to discuss continued support. This comes as Mark Rutte estimates that Russia is losing upwards of 35,000 forces each and every month. He says that is signs that Ukraine is in a strong position on the battlefield, but says yet more support is needed.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. This week, US President Donald Trump's newly appointed chair of the US Federal Reserve chaired his first policy meeting. Under Kevin Walsh, the Fed decided to leave interest rates unchanged. FSN's Kate Fisher in Washington was watching Walsh's first press conference as Fed chair.
Under its new chair, the US Central Bank voted to keep interest rates steady for a 4th straight meeting as Americans struggle with an inflation surge that has pushed prices to their highest level in years. The first policy vote since June last year that did not feature some form of opposition. But the apparent unanimity among officials belies the challenging position that Mr. Walsh finds himself in, having been handpicked for the job by President Trump, who's waged a relentless pressure campaign on the US Central Bank to lower borrowing costs. Delivering that's become all but impossible because of the war with Iran and the inflation that it's unleashed.
British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer could be facing a leadership challenge. It comes after Andy Burnham won a by-election in Greater Manchester. It means he's now a Member of Parliament and can challenge the Prime Minister, as FSN's John Beaver explains.
Of course, those who are the political opponents of the Labour Party, they say, well, if you're going to have this change in Prime Minister, then really it should go back to the people, that you should have this general election. But that's not how the system works. Of course, remember, with the previous Conservative Party, we saw a huge number of changes of the top job from Boris Johnson onwards, and all of that happened without a general election.
Senior security officials from across the BRICS bloc are convening in Delhi this coming week for a high-stakes meeting that could shape the agenda for a leaders' summit in September. The grouping includes China, Russia and Iran. And that's the Week in Review. That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
According to a new report, the vast majority of Americans simply want to be safe, happy, rich, comfortable, entertained, thin, and romantically fulfilled. The Onion spoke to a few of the survey's respondents who also claimed they want to be healthy, fulfilled, and successful and energized at all times.
All I want is a low-stress job, a nice house, affordable health care, and low gas prices, you know? It'd be nice to have a 35-hour work week, delicious food that's actually good for me, strong friendships, and free high-speed Wi-Fi wherever I go.
I think I'm entitled to wealth, love, cheap education, a fair legal process.
According to the survey, 63% of all Americans want their summers to be hot but not too hot. 85% want the government to stop all wars, end world hunger, and make quick and easy weight loss possible. 93% want to be emotionally satisfied, plus a soulmate, unconditional love from their parents, and a big happy dog.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. It's talk radio you control. All you have to do is call 603-283-6160 and you can get your thoughts on the air with us. Us in the studio tonight is Stu,
Kahuna,
and Rich.
Fork Fest is happening tomorrow. That's June 22nd through the 29th. It's a Monday to Monday. And that's happening in Errol, New Hampshire at the Northern Waters Outfitters Campground. The owner has offered to host 100 campers at $10 per person per night on the site, and anyone else is welcome to stay nearby and come to the campsite for the day for free. The only restriction on freedom the owner has asked we abide is no nudism, which is fine with me. Forkfest.wtf, that's F-O-R-K, fest.wtf, and Forkfest 2026 at gmail.com to sign up as one of the 100 campers.
Nice.
You guys are not going to Forkfest this year?
I'm not going.
Not this year. Just with some of the changes, it kind of things were in limbo there for a while, and I had to make other plans. But maybe next year. Mm-hmm. I've gone to Fork and Pork the last several years.
Yeah, and I usually don't go, so it's not like a big deal for me. It's a long way to go, and to get the time off of work is nearly impossible right now.
To hang out with the people that you see all the time anyway.
Well, that too, but you know, I've gone up a couple of times for like a couple days over the weekend or whatever, and like I was like, well, if it's closer than the old campground, you know, maybe I'll. But it's further away. It's like an hour further away than the old campground.
Yeah.
So I'm less inclined?
Can I maybe just talk a little bit about the changes, just briefly?
In Pork and Fork Fest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not for nothing, but I really wish and hope that the community can somehow mend that fence.
With Rogers?
Yep.
Okay.
For all the faults, you know, that people complain about or certain people complain about, I think it was a great environment. I think perhaps a very limited number of people ruined it.
The nudists.
Yeah.
Really? the ones that are banned this year are the ones that ruined it last year.
No, not that. But, without getting into the details, because, I think the community, if you follow what happened, kind of get the gist. But,
well, this is a radio show. Not everyone follows the local community.
That's true, yeah.
So if you want to talk about it,
I think somebody, somebody basically came in and maybe ruffled some feathers, I'll say.
Okay.
And then it escalated from there, and it ended up ruining the whole event.
Okay.
Somebody on the FSP board that was...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's my opinion.
That's kind of what it sounded like to me, too.
Okay.
Except, it was like a little bit of ungratefulness maybe from the FSP org, and then maybe a little ungratefulness on the part of Rogers as well. And the two things escalated against each other, and...
Yeah.
Now no Pork Fest.
Yeah, look, I get it.
A decentralized Pork Fest.
Decentralized Pork Fest.
Yeah, and I just maybe there's a lot of people, or majority of people now like this new format better. I disagree.
I will say that I do like the new format better.
All right, that's cool.
But that's for me, as not being a huge fan of FSP ever at any point in my life.
Yeah,
I've never been to a Pork Fest. I went to one Fork Fest.
Are you planning to attend either of you? Are you planning to attend any of the hub events during PorkFest proper?
I'm going to one of the hubs, but after the events for the day are over.
Okay.
No, I don't plan on attending any.
A lot of help you are.
The FSP sanctioned events. No, I do plan on being at ForkFest for part of the time, not the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what it turns out to be. So with the lack of a FSP PorkFest proper this year.
I don't get me wrong. I hope it succeeds, but
I think it's going to be awesome. I could be wrong,
but that's my take on it. And I guess what I would say is between Fork and Pork, I did prefer Fork.
Okay.
Just because it's more decentralized. It just, I don't know, it was a better environment, at least for me. I've attended both though.
I find the new format to be disingenuous in its promotion.
Yeah.
Because
for Forkfest or Porkfest or
Porkfest. Forkfest this year is the real Porkfest, right? It's the camping event of Porkfest.
Yes, Porkfest gave up their crown to Forkfest.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm so excited about this year.
And but what I don't like is again, because I don't talk to a lot of people, but the insider information, we all know why.
Yeah.
It's decentralized. It wasn't like they made the decision to give up the camping and do this decentralized thing as the way forward for PorkFest.
There was one campground.
They ran out of options.
Yep, exactly.
Right? But the promotion, like, oh no, it's always meant to be decentralized.
Yeah.
And this makes the most sense and has always made the most sense. Like, this is what we always envisioned PorkFest to be like. And this year we're finally seeing through our. Like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
You got kicked out of the campground.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way I see it.
And
too.
this is the fallback option.
But I will give them credit for having come up with something instead of just saying, too bad there's nothing going on this year.
We'll see how it turns out.
Yeah,
but if they did that, if they were just honest, like, hey, we're gonna have to do it different this year because
I don't hope
stuff
it's a flop.
happens.
I don't hope that it's a flop. I hope it's a success for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just not really my thing, is all.
Okay. I don't know if I've shared this on the air, but I will say this: the new format avails itself to the only event that I ever wanted to see at PorkFest, and that is the PorkFest Cannonball Run. Right? I wanted, there's all these hubs, there's all these communities, and people come to PorkFest or PorkFest proper before, and I'm like, well, you leave PorkFest, you go pick up, a trinket or a winning thing from each of the outposts and stops around New Hampshire, and the first one back to PorkFest collects all the trophies, wins. And now you can do it by hitting all the hubs.
Yep.
Right. Get the thing from all the hubs, and first one back to wherever wins the PorkFest Cannonball Run. I'm not organizing it. I'm not promoting it, but I am pitching it to someone willing to do it either this year or next year or whenever. I want to see that.
Somebody should definitely pick that up and make it a thing.
I think it's a cool, fun idea.
Do you have to use an e-bike or?
As long as you can get one that goes over 50. You do not want to be holding up traffic going from hither to yon in New Hampshire. Before we get back into the article, the last discussion with Turd Ferguson, we discussed it more throughout the break. So before I start reading again, did you guys want to expand that discussion any further with what you guys were talking about during the break, or are you?
Yeah, well, I was confused by Turd's what I perceive as rejection of libertarianism, because, as he put it, sort of might, he didn't use these words, basically might makes right, whether you're talking about force, say with a gun, or legal force, whatever format that is, right? Because in my view, that's probably going to be a thing regardless of your view, whether it's libertarianism or socialism or dictatorship or whatever the framework is, right?
American culture is a bully culture, so that's probably the way most people think.
I don't think that's an American culture. I think that it's a worldwide thing. It goes back to the beginning of time. We're talking about tribalism, protection of territory. Now, I would agree with you.
No, small tribes didn't have bully cultures. I don't think.
Well, I was getting to that. I'm not talking about a bully culture, but sort of protecting your own, protecting the tribe. I think there's some level of that. Okay, and then it becomes sort of how amped up does it get. So that's what you describe as bully culture. But the protection of your belief does not in itself make it invalid, which I think is what Turd's argument is. At least that was how I was perceiving it. So I would ask the question, what's the alternative? And I don't think there is an alternative. That's my kind of take on what he was saying.
The alternative to might makes right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think there's an alternative. I don't say might makes right. I say, might not make right, but it does make it so.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think that's the difference between what Turd Ferguson was proposing, right? Is, well, if I bring the gun and we have a gunfight and I win, then you don't have a right to free speech, right? Because I won, and that's it.
But that's where I disagree, is because he's now acting outside of his rights by showing up with a gun.
Yes.
To negotiate a situation that doesn't require a gun.
Sure. But the outcome, may not make right, but it does make it so. If he wins that, he's
still wrong, and I'm still right.
You retain the right to free
even though
speech.
I'm dead.
You retain the right to free speech, but you lost the ability. And so we're having this theoretical discussion on rights when we should be having like an actual discussion on ability.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like the Monty Python skit where the guy wants to be called Loretta.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you have the right to be called Loretta, and you have a right to have a child, but you don't have the ability because you don't have a womb.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You can have all the rights you want, but if you don't have the ability, you can't do anything with those rights.
we don't live in a world that's purely theoretical, right? I mean, that would be, in my view, impossible.
Yeah, but I think you're more in aligning with Turd then, because that's the part that he's rejecting, is the theoretical theoretical concepts of libertarianism.
But you can't. I don't think that gives you the sort of the say to say no. Your premise is wrong just because the application you need to do something else, which seemingly is counter to that.
Well, again, you can have the right to free speech, but if someone cuts your tongue out, you've lost the ability. You retain the right for something you can't actually do, and so the right is theoretical. Like, well, you could talk if you could talk, right?
Okay. I mean, I just don't see where I don't see what the outcome here when I ask the question, what's the alternative?
Yeah, you have a right to drive a car, but if you have no arms, right, you don't have the ability. You retain the right, but
the alternative was supposed to be, we're going to form a government to protect the individual rights.
Mm-hmm.
By violating some of them, we'll protect some and violate others. Because they have to violate it in order to retain their function.
I don't know that they had to, but it was so naturally that was the course. That I don't know that they could have ever resisted.
Well, then you have an all-volunteer government making suggestions, right?
I mean, largely, you kind of did in early America. It's sort of how the government worked. It was kind of, it's voluntary, and a lot of people didn't even listen to them anyways.
Yeah, because they were only making suggestions. So,
Right.
So what do you do when like your suggestion goes unheeded?
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of times when they try to put teeth behind their suggestion, it still didn't go their way.
And at that point, then the individuals rejecting the teeth were retaining their individual rights
Mhm.
against the coercive nature of whatever suggestion authority existed at the time.
Yeah.
And we've lost that as a culture.
Yeah,
Right?
because
we no longer reject the teeth of the state.
Yeah, the authority keeps filing them sharper and adding more and more teeth.
Right. So what do? Right.
Yeah.
And libertarians, we'll just vote our way out of this.
Brilliant.
What we need to do is form a coalition to put together the coalition so that we can get more people on the ballot in Nebraska or wherever the Libertarian National Committee wants to apportion the money.
How are we going to form a coalition? We're going to need a coalition to form that one.
Yes. All right. Done? Back into the article?
Yep.
All right. The young age of riders and the speeds that can be reached by e-bikes and e-motorcycles can become a deadly combination, said Dr. Alan Nagar from Children's Hospital Los Angeles. They go faster than regular bikes, they're heavier, they're more difficult to maneuver, and they require additional coordination and awareness, he said. As Director of Emergency and Transport Medicine at the hospital, Nagar said he has seen the impact and risk of these electric bicycles firsthand, and they're showing up in the emergency rooms more often. For the past 3 years, the number of kids and teenagers admitted to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles with e-bike related injuries has doubled each year.
From like 8 to 16 and then 32.
Manipulate the statistics however you want. It could have been 1 the first year and 2 the second year, and all hell breaks loose when 4 people show up.
Oh man, that's double the injuries.
Right. Here we go. See, you were close. In 2023, the hospital recorded 8 patients.
Oh no!
With e-bike injuries.
You know, 30,000 people die every year in cars. 30,000. 8 kids.
This 8 in just California.
8 kids crash on their bikes in California. Oh no, there's an epidemic of e-bike things.
In 2024, the hospital saw 16 patients, and 36 in 2025 were admitted.
Oh my goodness.
So far this year alone, the hospital has seen 21 patients with e-bike injuries the first 5 months of the year.
So they're not on course to double. Years halfway over, they're only going to get to 40-something.
Yeah. I will also say, I feel like this is a self-solving problem.
Maybe that's why they're screaming about it, because they see that it's about to plateau. And they're only going to get up to 40-something injuries, and
they can't do anything.
They need to do something about it now while it's still rising.
Yeah. No one's going to get behind our plan if more kids. They'll manufacture. It'll be a psyop. They'll start injuring kids on e-bikes.
I wouldn't be surprised that the person behind this article has plans to start a new e-bike company that's going to be fully compliant with the new regulations of California.
If he's friends with the governor, certainly.
Yeah.
Again, I also much like the skateboards and the drifting culture that we mentioned, and whatever else kids have done in the past.
Planking is dangerous.
Okay. Whatever. I vaguely remember that one. Like just laying flat on things, planking injury at the hospital. But it's a fad that comes and goes, and then something else replaces it, right? So this article's written this year about this, e-bike problem, and at some point, e-bikes won't be the thing. Sales will go down. Companies will go out of business. There'll be a new thing, and we'll get a new article about the new thing that kids are doing that are putting them in hospitals.
Yep.
Tide Pod eaters.
Those were delicious.
No, I will take your word for it.
Just kidding. I've never eaten a Tide Pod. Please don't do it. It's a bad idea.
The hospital also sees several patients that are injured from traditional pedal bike accidents, but e-bike riders tend to suffer more severe and serious injuries, a fact that he attributes to the speed of the bikes. Well, no duh. There's a relationship between higher speeds, less coordination, and more chances of an accident, he said.
Really?
Yeah. Right.
I am just floored.
They interview Captain Obvious for this part of the article.
They must have.
Quantifying exactly how many crashes, injuries, and fatalities occur is a challenge, however. Multiple law enforcement agencies still classify e-bike crashes with pedal bike accidents, and the recent appearance of e-bikes has made data difficult to collect. Specifically, incident and crash reporting is seldom specific enough to indicate these bike types, with e-bike crashes often recorded as bicycle crashes and e-scooters often recorded as pedestrian crashes. A spokesperson for the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said in a statement. One study by San Jose University's Mineta Transportation Institute, published in December, found that data was hard to collect for the same reason. It found, however, that according to the National Fatality Analysis Reporting System, at least 154 fatal e-bike crashes has been recorded between 2022 and 2023. So compare that again to, what did you say, Stu, 30,000 traffic fatalities or traffic accidents?
Mm-hmm.
Another study published this year by the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, looking at electric and pedal bike injuries at a San Diego trauma center, found e-bike injuries in San Diego has jumped by more than 300% between 2019 and 2023.
Okay, so I'm going to chime in here.
Please.
Because I'm retired now, but my profession was all about numbers, put it that way. And there's a book called How to Lie with Statistics. Which I would recommend that to anybody who has an interest. It's actually a book from the 1950s. You can get it online and one of the well-known platform for, I don't know, $10, 15, and it's kind of, the examples are dated now, but the gist of it is you can make some of these things sound outrageous by, jumping 300%. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah, or from 8 to 16.
It went, yeah, right. I mean, they could be very small numbers, and even those numbers on a relative basis might be small. You have, what did you say, 10,000 crashes or something?
Stu said 30,000 car crashes.
Okay.
Or something.
Fatalities.
Fatalities.
Okay. And some people would argue if one fatality is too many, but that's not reality. I mean, they're going to happen. So 30,000 out of how many possible driving incidents?
Right.
30,000 out of a billion.
Probably. 300 million.
So when you express that as a percentage, it's not nothing. And then anybody who has a loved member that dies, that's tragic. But
we should cap the speed limit of cars to 15 miles an hour to prevent these tragedies.
Correct.
They need flaggers walking in front of and behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like the old days.
And the media is, in my experience, like the most guilty party when it comes to using these sort of statistics. Because it used to be they're selling newspapers, now they're selling views or clicks or whatever.
Yeah. This is why I recommend people don't consume news. Most people aren't smart enough to read through that kind of
So I'm getting off my soapbox, but that's my commentary on that.
No, that's fine.
No, well said.
This is from MSN. They're clearly doing what you said.
Right.
And we're reading through it and critiquing it. In Orange County, the Sheriff's Department is working with schools and Orange County Transportation Authority for educational programs, said Sergeant Gerard McCann of the Orange County Sheriff's Department. For example, several schools require students to register their bicycles, electric or pedal-powered, if they're taken to and from school. But as many parents know, if there's a new rule, there will likely be a child out there trying to break it. Earlier this month, McCann said deputies were called to a local high school after students riding e-bikes, including some that appeared to be motorcycles, were spotted locking them in a secluded area away from campus to avoid registering them. Man, that's the first thing that I thought. Just leave it not on campus, and you're not in their jurisdiction anymore.
Yeah, just lock it up at the 7-Eleven across the street.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah. Kids these days always try to break the rule. A recent review of e-bike related citations by the Orange County Sheriff's Department also showed the growing problem. E-bike related citations by the department jumped to 259 in 2025, according to the department, up from 173 the previous year. The two most common tickets, according to the data, was riding without a helmet and unsafe riding. Online, teens are also watching videos on how to remove the speed limitations on their bikes so they can get past the legit limit. Also what we said, right? The aftermarket modifications. Some of the modifications are so particular, Pon said, they go unnoticed without specific training or expertise. It's almost impossible for law enforcement to identify right off the bat a simple modification.
Well, law enforcement, it turns out riding your bike at 50 miles an hour is really fun. And so kids are going to do it.
That's right.
And you're not going to stop them. Give us a call. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, the US and Iran signed a memorandum of understanding, bringing an end to their conflict. The 14-point memo sets out terms for ending the war and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The deal gives both sides 60 days to resolve the future of Iran's nuclear program. But some Republican lawmakers have already attacked the agreement over the billions of dollars that could now flow to Tehran. FSN's Mitch McCann sent this report.
There are many key unanswered questions that remain here. Among them, what is the future of Iran's nuclear program, something that Donald Trump has talked about since the start of this conflict. Iran has reportedly agreed not to have a nuclear weapon, but what about nuclear power, and how will the US trust the Iranians' word moving forward? What is going to happen in terms of Iran backing, or no longer backing, its regional proxies? And the big question as well is what happens to the Strait of Hormuz after 60 days?
Meanwhile, the first round of planned talks in Switzerland on Friday between the US and Iran was abruptly called off. It came after Israel carried out a wave of deadly strikes on Lebanon on Friday in response to a Hezbollah attack that killed 4 Israeli soldiers. Israel and Hezbollah then recommitted to a ceasefire, but US-Iran negotiations are still in limbo. FSN's Ross Cullen sent this report from Switzerland, where the talks were due to take place on Friday.
The 60-day timeline is open. That is probably the major setback, the fact that they have not been able to use the first 2 days of this 60-day period to be able to start negotiations. But the memorandum that was signed by President Pezeshkian and President Trump, that is still in effect, but there was hopes that there would be the first round of these talks heading towards a final nuclear deal here in Switzerland today, Friday, potentially this weekend. But now we have the statement from the US Vice President's office that right now he is not coming to Switzerland.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth this week announced a 6-month Pentagon review of American forces in Europe, while NATO's nuclear planning group issued its first statement in 19 years, both unveiled on Thursday at a defense ministers' meeting in Brussels. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky was also there. FSN's William Denslow was there in Brussels and sent this report.
He met last night with Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General. He had a meeting with NATO's defence ministers to discuss continued support. This comes as Mark Rutte estimates that Russia is losing upwards of 35,000 forces each and every month. He says that is signs that Ukraine is in a strong position on the battlefield, but says yet more support is needed.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. Call us at 603-283-6160. Let us know what's on your mind tonight. The us in the studio is Stu,
Kahuna,
and Rich.
And we have one caller on the line, so we're going to go to the phones. We've got David in New Mexico. David, what's on your mind?
Happy Father's Day, David in New Mexico.
Screw you, Richie. You were just trying to hurt my feelings, weren't you?
Of course.
Yeah. Well,
and
good job.
we didn't bring up
Didn't
that it's Father's Day all episode.
I don't know if you know Richie. That's kind of his shtick. He's
so
sort of a
presented
troll.
the opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you know what? Actually, it occurred to me the last time that I was on with you, Richie, a couple weeks ago, and you were mocking me by bringing up those names. What were those names again? I can't remember them.
Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I'm not denying it. I just don't remember.
Those judges. I can't remember their names.
Oh, John J. Romero and Monica M. Zamora?
Oh, yeah, that's them. So thank you for illustrating my point. Now all that ridiculousness about saying their names over and over and over again to the point where people mock me about it. But what happened as a result of me doing that?
I remembered it.
Exactly. John J. Romero Jr. and M. Monica Zamora and a few others trafficked my children. They broke the law. Surprise, surprise.
Did you ever file criminal complaints against them?
Well, I don't know that you can't file criminal complaints.
You can file a criminal complaint against anybody.
Well, if you want an exercise in futility, you might.
No, you see, because if the court clerk throws that away, they've committed a crime too.
Okay, explain your legal theory on that one for me, please, and then maybe I'll take your advice.
If you work at the courts and somebody tells you there's a commission of a crime, you are required by law to look into it.
Okay, and where is that in law that you're required to look into it?
I can't cite the exact law. I'm not that good.
Okay, so that would be the starting place, is we need to find where in law that is laid out. And if we can do that, then I would utilize it. But until I have that citation, I can't cite that citation.
Yeah. So again, I'm with Stu on this one a little bit. There used to be another podcast on the air, and I don't know if they're still broadcasting, but it was called the Rule of Law Radio. Have you ever come across this thing, David?
Sounds vaguely familiar, but the short answer, I guess, would be no.
Okay, so if they're still on, find some clips, maybe reach out to them on how to go about this, because that was one of the tactics that they would advocate for in their broadcast. And the guy who was like the main host of the show claimed to have a lot of experience in this area. I didn't vet him, so do your own due diligence. But he would say exactly what Stu was saying. He would go to the court, drop off documents, and if they refused to accept the documents, he would then file even more complaints against the person who refused the documents or whatever, the bailiff or whomever. Like, I've got matters with the court. Here's the documents. I can't take that, sir. All right, I'm filing a complaint against you. And he would just pile on these complaints with the court officers who didn't know their own job and responsibility to the citizens. And one of the big things that he advocated for, and I this is one of the few things that I remember, is you fight the state in the federal court and you fight the federal court in the state court, because they have conflicts with each other because of their jurisdictional boundaries, and you can usually get them to play against each other.
Right. That part I can go along with. Now, one scenario I see playing out, if you go into a courthouse or wherever to file your paperwork, whatever that may be, a complaint, a petition, whatever. What I see happening is you're not likely to get rejected, as in you can't file that, being told by the clerk. Generally, what I see happening is that your filing is taken, then it goes to the adjudicator. A judge would review it, and then the judge would dismiss it, is what I see would likely happen.
Okay. Stu?
And so then what's your response? If the judge, then it's not the clerk that rejects it, they leave that for the judge to do, and the judge rejects it, then what?
Well, you would file a complaint against the judge.
Yes. Then the judge has committed a crime, and you find out what court has jurisdiction over that judge, and you file it in that court.
Been there, done that. So if the judge dismisses it, you say the judge has committed a crime.
If it's a state judge, you file a complaint against the state judge in federal court for the commission of that crime.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what type of complaint would you file in the federal court?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Right. That's where you got to find the law that actually cites. I was looking for it, but man, they make it hard. There's a reason there's a thing called
this is homework and research for you to do, David.
Yeah.
Well, I've been there, done that. I said that. I'm about to answer your question. So, first of all, in answering your question, I was going to ask you for a bit more information, Stu, about you were looking for what kind of law. Then you weren't able to do it in the moment, and I'm going to help you with that. But what were you looking for that you were not able to find in a timely fashion?
There's a law that says if you file a criminal complaint, the judge is required to look into it, and if there's a criminal, like if he finds that there's criminal behavior in accordance with the complaint, then he's got to take action on it. If they dismiss it and there's clearly criminal action, they've committed a crime.
Okay, and we're talking, the jurisdiction we're talking about is, since we're accusing a state judge, so we're doing this reporting this criminal complaint in the federal court is what you're saying, right?
That was the suggestion made.
I assume that's who would be above them, yeah.
That's the suggestion.
Okay,
well, not necessarily above.
Well,
just parallel jurisdictions.
Who would claim jurisdiction over that judge?
Right. But it also works the other way if you have a complaint against the federal judge, right? Like this happened recently in like Minnesota with the ICE riots, right? Like the state, they finally pushed the state police to like arrest the federal government, the federal agents that were there, right? Because they have superior jurisdiction over the feds in their own local state jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily one is above the other. It's just how do you can't fight the feds in federal court, so you fight the feds in state court. And again, this was advice that I heard on a podcast years ago, but
Right. I don't disagree with that advice in general, but getting back to specifics. So, if the allegation is criminal activity by a state judge, and now let's go back to the comment you made about the place you would go is who has jurisdiction over that judge. Am I paraphrasing you appropriately?
Yeah, as far as I understand it, and I could be wrong. I'm not formally trained in the law.
Right, we could all be wrong. We're dissecting this. This is not boilerplate. This is the process. So, who might you suspect? Meaning you don't know because you're suspecting or you're guessing, you're alleging, you're whatever. Might have jurisdiction over the judge that I want to complain about. Who might you guess? And you can be wrong, but who might you?
For a state judge that you're talking about?
Yeah, well, the state judge is the ones that M. Monica Zamora, John J. Romero Jr., they're state judges. They trafficked my children. I know beyond the shadow of a doubt. I only have to prove it.
State of New Mexico Superior Court. If that's a thing.
It is a thing. I've been there many times. Right. Remember, the ladies at the Supreme Court are the ones that say that I look like Kurt Russell. Remember?
I don't.
Okay. Well, you've mocked me about it many times. I thought you'd remember. But
if you bring it up, I will mock you. But I also, aside from those two names, I don't remember much about all the calls.
Not a problem. I was just dropping that to show my familiarity with the Supreme Court and their familiarity with me. So yes, I've been there. And so let's dissect that one a moment. So the New Mexico Supreme Court. Now I've filed multiple things, 3 or 4 different documents regarding the situation with the state Supreme Court in New Mexico, and every avenue, every legal tool that I could think of to use, extraordinary writs in particular, and all of my writs, being 2, 3, 4, whatever they were, and also the appeals themselves. There were 2 different appeals. I exhausted all remedies at the state level by going to the state court of appeals and then the state district court, complaining there, and then going to the Court of Appeals, and then going to the Supreme Court. I have exhausted all potential remedies at the state level to the point where the final decision that the Supreme Court wrote to me was that no further filings will be entertained by the Supreme Court on this subject matter.
So then you go to the Federal Circuit Court and you said, Your Honor, the entire court system in New Mexico is corrupt, and here is all of my evidence.
Got it. So I'm on the same page with you there, and that was also on my checklist to do, and it's not it is not at this point disposed of. That is something that can still happen.
Okay.
And obviously at this point, what we're looking for primarily in terms of remedy or compensation or being made whole, whatever, would simply be monetary settlement, because children are adults and judges are probably long retired, and so now we're simply going after money for damages and punitive as well if they're available.
Okay.
A criminal prosecution against these bureaucrats might not be such a bad outcome either.
Well, let's go back to that one. So that's originally where I was going down, but we kind of diverted from that. So the question, you suggest criminal complaint against judges, and I'm great if criminal complaint is an avenue, is a thing. Then yeah. Now I know cops can write up criminal complaints, and I know attorneys general can write up criminal complaints. The question is, can a citizen file a criminal complaint? And I know that in some instances in law, the answer is yes. And in other instances, I think it's probably no. But on this specific question, the question of the allegation of a state judge committing criminal activity, and who has jurisdiction over that. So let's ask that question. Who has jurisdiction over a state judge, the allegation of a state judge committing criminal acts where no government agent is acting on it, but a citizen would like to? So do you know anything about that complaint process as I just described there, the one that you alluded to?
Short answer is no, but I mean, there's been stories out there of state judges being removed from office for any number of charges, improprieties that they've done from the bench. So it's not something that can't be done. It's whether it's applicable in your case under the law.
Right, and I have some experience with that as well. Generally speaking, to my knowledge, if a judge is removed by whomever, or by a process initiated by whomever, whether a private citizen or a government agent, the main way, I won't say the only way, there is and I used to have this rated on, I could cite it, but it's been so long since I've spoken the phraseology. I don't know in the state of New Mexico, because this is regarding New Mexico. I don't recall the name of the body, the board, but there is a board that oversees judges where when a judge is alleged to have or is convicted of criminal activity, or even if it's not criminal activity,
the Judicial Oversight Committee.
That may be what it's called. Maybe you searched it. If you searched it in the time that I was, well, if you did, it may very well be that. And New Mexico has that, and I have entertained that and explored that in the past, and it didn't seem. And I had once again exhausted my exploration of that process with the ideation, the belief. The firmly held belief based on the evidence I had collected that avenue was not going to work for these allegations, whether they be allegations of criminal activity or not. And so any complaint that would next be entertained would be at other than that Judicial Oversight Committee or whatever it was.
Have you harassed your local legislature? Legislator.
I, as I've said many times on your program, for 6 years straight, I attended all day long, every day, every year for 6 years straight, with a few half-day, hourly, whole-day misses here and there, every legislative day in the state of New Mexico, which are alternating 30-day, 60-day sessions from 1 year to the next, to the point where if you walked into the capital of the state of New Mexico and you asked anybody you encountered that worked there, have you seen David?
Okay.
They would know who you were talking about.
So again, that's fine. That's your example. I know my old boss was a big fan of not the legislature, but the legislator. So he had an issue, like an overcharge with his primary care physician at like the local hospital or whatever it was, right? And he was disputing the bill to no avail with the hospital directly. He was like, screw this, I'm calling my senator, right? And like a week later, he gets a call back from like the hospital president ready to like, solve this issue. So he's a big fan of like, just, find the politician and willing to help me and plead your case to them.
That's what I was doing at the legislature. I was seeking the legislators, and when I wasn't occupied with a legislator, I was making life difficult for the legislature.
Okay.
So yeah. So
I'm out of ideas for you, David.
Well,
it seems like you've run through them all.
I have. I had many years to do it, and I put in thousands and thousands, literally, I'm not overstating it, thousands and thousands of hours.
All right.
And so, what we're left as far as disposing of, either in a successful manner or a non-successful manner, disposing of your question and or allegation, whether a citizen can bring a criminal complaint against against anybody in the government, but in this case, judges and or clerks and or attorneys that have contracts in these proceedings, etc. We don't have a definitive answer of whether a citizen can do that. Maybe who's the guy with the snack bar? Who's a lawyer and a good one, of course, because he's Jewish in your state? Maybe Alu Axelman, right?
Maybe he can. I don't know if he's a lawyer or.
I believe he is.
Okay. Or that he owns a snack bar.
Well, that's my humor. Alu's snack bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because that's what the Jews say.
Well, I don't know what the Jews say, but Alu has a snack bar.
Okay.
Or he should have one, and it would be Alu snack bar, and then I would have a joke. There would be good humor there. But anyway, his profession.
If those conditions were met.
What about it?
I said it would be if those conditions were met. Sadly, those conditions were not met.
Well, there's opportunity. I see opportunity then. Unrealized opportunity for Alu.
We'll let him know when we see him.
Hey, David, I got one more thing that might be interesting to you. There's this concept called acting under the color of law. And what that means is that these district courts handle the family court stuff in New Mexico. So the district courts traffic through children. And I would imagine they cited statute and not United States law when doing so. And if that's the case, then technically they've broken this law, or they've acted under the color of law. It refers to actions taken under the appearance of legal authority.
Right.
And that's a felony. So you might go that route. I don't know.
I will also suggest with all of the things that David has done, right? Maybe it's time to buy a bulldozer, right? Sometimes reasonable men are pushed to act unreasonably.
Some half-inch steel plating and stuff.
And if you have been pushed this far over the course of 19 years,
just make sure your cooling system is up
reinforce the radiator.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Yep. Just add two or three extra radiators and lots of fans.
Yeah, and don't make the fatal error of bulldozing or killdozing buildings that have a basement.
Yeah.
Because that's where you'll get stuck. You can get hung up.
Right.
And then you end up having to kill yourself, and if you don't want to go to prison.
Right. So
I don't think he ever had any other intention. He welded himself into that thing.
Yeah. But I mean, this is this is one of those things we talked a little bit about it during the break, so you didn't hear the conversation, right? But the underlying pinning of all conflict is violence, and what we try to do is like exercise all other alternatives to resolve a conflict before we resort to violence. And it sounds to me like you've taken 19 years and have exhausted every peaceful means to remedy this situation, and you're left with nothing left.
Are you trying to get me locked up?
No, trying to get you killed.
Oh, there you go. Thanks very much.
But not after, meting out some sort of justice or revenge, or however you want to put it, on the people that have wronged you and have prevented you from getting the remedy you truly deserve and desire.
Okay, so how does where does revenge as a dish best served cold fit into this?
I don't know. Can you find out where John J. Romero and M. Monica Zamora live, and can you build a killdozer?
Eric Cartman would claim that revenge is a dish best served chili. I don't know if you.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying you've taken it on the chin for 18 or 19. I don't remember how old your kids are. You've taken it on the chin. You've exhausted all of these other options. You've gone through this process, in futility, right? What's left for a man to do when all peaceful means of justice have been exhausted?
Well, build a killdozer, of course, but first I need to write the screenplay and get that sold so I can, make a bunch of money and donate it to my favorite charity. Before I would, film. I guess it would be a documentary then, instead of so the screenplay would be.
No, they made a Hollywood movie of the Killdozer. It's called Tread.
I said Killdozer 2.
Yeah.
I said Killdozer 2. It's called what? It's called what?
Tread. I don't know if it's made in Hollywood, but it's a movie called Tread.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, you guys said something earlier about tribes not being. Operating under the principle of might makes right, and that's not true. If you want to just take the continent we live on, which is the best one to look at, I guess, since we're all here, tribes of every size were, they were savages.
That's what we're told, but I don't believe it. There's evidence to the contrary.
You know what? There's evidence to the contrary. Like what? Because I got evidence to the contrary. But what's your evidence?
Some tribes were very warlike and wanted to conquer and go forth to conquer their neighbor's territory. Some were not like that at all. They were nomadic and would avoid conflict and.
Like which one?
I have a feeling on which one produced progeny and which one got eviscerated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, first of all, let me explain that one of my main hobbies, and I have also used it as a sleep aid, is I listen to history every single night. I listen to, on average, like an hour of history, not fiction, history. And my favorite history is American history, and my favorite American history is Native American history, especially in regards to their conflicts with us. And so which tribes specifically to which are you referring?
So if you like history podcasts, since we're getting to the end of the show, I'll just plug Professor CJ's Dangerous History podcast.
Excellent podcast.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah, we're out of time. I would like to continue that conversation. I'm not as knowledgeable about the natives as I'm sure David is, but we'll have to do it another night. This has been Free Talk Live. Thanks for listening. Peace.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Coming up next after the news, Hour 1 of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, here at listen.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This week, the US and Iran signed a memorandum of understanding, bringing an end to their conflict. The 14-point memo sets out terms for ending the war and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The deal gives both sides 60 days to resolve the future of Iran's nuclear program, but some Republican lawmakers have already attacked the agreement over the billions of dollars that could now flow to Tehran. FSN's Mitch McCann sent this report.
There are many key unanswered questions that remain here. Among them, what is the future of Iran's nuclear program, something that Donald Trump has talked about since the start of this conflict? Iran has reportedly agreed not to have a nuclear weapon, but what about